Hey everybody, welcome to Normal America's show. We're doing a late stream tonight. Don't know how long I'll go, maybe only until 10 o'clock, 10:30. But I'm glad to have you here. I was trying to wait for the Hankster to fall asleep, but he didn't. So this is unfortunate because sometimes he gets upset at night here when I come up. We were watching, it's an exciting time for me in Hank's life. It's amazing. Being a father is easily the best thing I've ever done in my life. Being a husband's a close number two. I love my wife and my son equally, I really do. But my wife could flourish without me. She's an independent lady. It would be fine. Particularly an infant son still needs you a lot. And it's definitely the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm always kind of like, there's this melancholy about me because every single stage of Hank's life, I've been like, I don't want him to get older. I love this stage of his life. But then you step back and you realize, like, well, at this point, it's a pattern. I love him no matter what. And it's always fun and exciting. So I loved him when he was 1 and when he's 2 and now that he's 3. And when he's 4, it'll be different, but it's still going to be fun and exciting. So we're at this exciting time now where he's starting to watch TV shows that I'm into. So we were watching SpongeBob when I came up. And it's amazing. It really is. He's starting to get jokes, right? Like he understands why things are funny. I am home. I'm home till Sunday. You had your daughter yesterday. She turned 16 last Tuesday. It goes fast. I will. Thank you for the advice, man. I will. I'll enjoy every moment of it. Yeah, actually, good news on that front. So actually, I go in Sunday to work, and then Tuesday morning I get off work. I'm taking off, and then I'll have Tuesday the entire time until next Sunday. So I get like I'll actually only work like 30 hours that week, which normally I average like 80, 85. So it's going to feel like a vacation for me. And me and my wife are going to meet some friends in Pittsburgh, and we're going to take Hank to his first sporting event. We're going to go see the Pittsburgh Penguins 2 days after they retire Yammer Yager's jersey, which he's one of my all-time favorite players. So things looking up for this guy. I'm enjoying it. So we got a show for you tonight. Is it a good show? I don't know. Ain't going to be as good as last night's show because I got to debate, and I love debating. And I smacked around my opponent, as is 95% of the time the case. All right, I'm lying. 99%. Yeah, there's a lot of stories to talk about today, so let's get to it. Of course, the one I didn't put in the title of this video is the Ernagon, is that how you say his name? The judge in New York there, the Letitia James case. Trump owes $350 million. It's a joke. We'll talk about that a little perhaps later. But, I think the big news of the day is the Navalny dying. And my understanding is in a Russian prison. 98% sure that was the case. There was a little doubt based on a conversation I was having with someone on Twitter. I thought they were trying to claim that he was freed from prison and then killed. But I don't think that's the case. I think he died in prison. So we'll talk about that. And then we have more to talk about this guy Smirnov, who is the confidential human resource in the Biden bribery scheme, who has been indicted. He was indicted yesterday. Now, I did put up a video yesterday. I tried to skim through that indictment as fast as possible. I put that up yesterday. We did that live, but I recorded it and it's up on X, so you can get my initial thoughts on it. And a lot hasn't changed. There's a couple of things that I think are worth talking about that have added to that. So it was a Siberian gulag called the Polar Wolf. Okay. Yeah. And so we'll talk about all of that stuff. So I'm just waiting here a second or two for a couple more people to filter in. Bald. But no, it should be a show. Hopefully a good one. I don't know how late I will go. But in updates to the channel coming up, I'm still, as far as I know, I'm going to email. I haven't heard anything since the initial confirmation. All right, I'll let you all decide. I'm going to give you a little inside baseball of a discussion I had with people from Tim Pool's show via email. Basically, it went like this. Ian Crossland, who I've done his show, great guy, who's sort of a co-host on Tim Pool's show, put me in touch with one of the producers. The producer emailed me and said, what day would work for you to come on the show, the 23rd or the 1st? Or maybe it was the 24th or the 1st. And I said, whatever day works for you. And they said, okay, well, we're waiting to hear back from another guest and then we'll let you know. And then after like 4 or 5 days, I messaged them and said, haven't heard anything back. And they were like, oh, sorry, we were busy. We have you penciled in on the 1st. That's all I've heard. So I'm going to email them. I didn't want to bother them. So I'm going to email them tomorrow and be like, hey, just, a couple weeks out now, just trying to make plans. Do I need to get a hotel? Because it's an event that you have to be in person. But for me, that means I'm scheduled for the show, right? Do I ever collab cam? No, I don't know what that is. That I think, is that a feature on Twitch where you could share someone else's camera on my... I've never done it. Tweet at Pisco, maybe you can get it. I don't know that I'd talk to Pisco tonight, I would, but I know how it'll go. I'll be here till 2 a.m. I would like to get to bed at a reasonable hour. So if he comes on, we'd have to put a hard limit on it. It has to be like 11 o'clock, we're done. And I really mean it this time. I really do. I have to be the worst bullshitter in the world when I say, I got to be done at this time. I would say I have a 5% accuracy rate. If I say I got to be done by 11, I'll be here till 3 a.m. Like, that shit happens to me all the time. It's absurd. So I have to get better at that. I really do. I did a pretty decent job last night. This week so far I've done well. I said I have a cutoff time, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know how many people jump in the show. Yeah, I think Tim's place of residence is about 4-hour drive from where I'm at, and it's a show during the day. So I think it records at 10 a.m. So I'm going to spend the night before because I don't feel like getting in the car at 5 a.m. and then hoping I don't hit traffic to make it. That's not going to happen. So I'll definitely get there the night before and check into a hotel. But as far as I'm concerned, I took that as when they said, yeah, we got you penciled in on that date. That to me was, yeah, I'm on the show for that date. Now, I wouldn't think it's the end of the world if they said, oh, things changed. Can we move you to a different day? That's fine. But I didn't want to bullshit people until I got confirmation and tell them I was going to be on the show. I thought I was in my rights once they said they had me penciled in, that I could go ahead and announce that I was scheduled to be on Tim Pool's show. So hopefully it works out. But anything could happen, and I do understand. Do I know who else is going to be there? No, I don't know if there's going to be another guest or if it'll just be me. I don't know. If Phil LeBon's there, I'll ask him about the Destiny drama. I try to stay out of the drama shit, though. Look, my whole thing, like, I know I was giving Connor shit, which I stand by, for working, claiming to be a Republican and then going to that Progressive Victory PAC's, event where they had streamers trying to register progressive voters to help progressives and Democrats win elections. And then I have my people I argue with, like I was arguing with Tiberius D. I've certainly argued with many, many people. But as far as like the interpersonal relationship stuff, my drama is sort of like fuck your policy position in that sort of argument. I think you're dog shit, your arguments. I could separate that from thinking, are you an immoral person? So, if someone acts, I'm not always like that. I've said things about certain streamers, don't get me wrong, but I try to make a concerted effort to most of the time be that way. And, I'm not perfect, but, I try to only judge people based on the interactions I've had with them because I know how easy it is for people to accuse people of things and it not be true. So as far as drama with Destiny, I never met the dude in real life. If I would show up on a show and Destiny was in the green room, I might be like, hey man, what's up? And that'd be it. Maybe, how's the weather? Or your opinions are dog shit, man. Maybe something like that. But I'm not real. The truth be told, I'm happy with my relationships. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy with my friends in real life. I'm not really in the game to like develop a community of fellow streamers that I could be chums with and travel around the world with. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen. But so, as far as that sort of drama goes, I just, Phil does seem like a nice guy. But I don't know. When it comes to that stuff, this person was a jerk to me. No, he was a jerk to me. I'm not really interested. I just, yeah, we're probably not going to ask you to, for the sake of my channel, please don't be saying things like you support Hitler. That would be nice. So I'm just going to give you that warning. I'm not someone who likes to stymie people's ability to speak or anything like that. But you have to understand that I'm in a position where a lot of my political positions already have me on a razor thin edge on these platforms. So I don't want to give any excuses for any more reason to get me kicked off a platform like this. So please keep that stuff to a minimum. Also, you're an absolute moron and horrible person if you support someone like Hitler. Which sort of gets me, believe it or not, into the transition of the first topic I want to talk about, and that is the death of Navalny. Now, I got to be honest with you, straight up. I know very little about Navalny. Okay, we'll see, Corvus. Is anyone on Twitch right now? Any mods? If you could ban Corvus, that'd be nice. If not, I'll head over there. I gotta log in. This dude at least accomplished delaying my stream a little. Oh, here we go. Now I gotta find the code on my phone. Oh, boy. Oh, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Anyways, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I'm sure he'll be back with a different account, so. Get ready to ban again. That's the way that usually works. All right. Let me check something else real quick. Oh, Roy Reiser. Okay, yeah, that I recognize, yeah. All right. So the idea of someone supporting Hitler, there's this idea, which I think is wrong, of supporting Putin. I think there are people, and Tucker was on the verge of that, of sort of supporting Putin. Like, first off, let me just say in general, I start with the default position that I probably dislike 99.9% of world leaders. I think that, in general, one, the type of person that it takes to become that sort of powerful person probably has characteristics that wouldn't make them people that I would really care about. Second, the way international politics works, I'm not an idiot. It's about power. And that means that people do what they think they could get away with, generally. Now, that's not a hard, fast rule. Sometimes there are actual decent people and then shitty people opposed to them, don't get me wrong. But in general, that's sort of the theme. I have a lot of criticisms with the foreign policy that's been ran by our intel agencies, people involved in our large political stage. I have a lot of criticisms. I make them all the time. That does not mean that anyone that I think our intel agencies are against are good people. I don't like Zelensky. I think his administration is terribly corrupt. But I don't like Putin either. And just because I dislike both people or both countries or both sides of a conflict, I feel the same about Israel-Palestine. Doesn't mean that I can't put more blame on one side than the other. And it doesn't mean if I blame one side more than the other, that means any blame to the other side is, horrible and immoral. That's not what I'm saying. So, I mean, I don't know what else to... What else is, to say about it. So, having said that, let's look at the Navalny situation. I don't know much about Navalny. I know what I'm told in the Western media. And I know enough to know that sort of that's bullshit. So, for example, I know Navalny was the opposition leader in Russia. I know that he was allegedly poisoned. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the allegation that Putin and the, Russia, the KGB or whatever, poisoned him at one point. I know they locked him up. I know the trial had to do with, I think, money funneling in corrupt ways and stuff like that, but that's probably not true. The allegation is he's locked up for being a political dissident. I know that he allegedly died today or in the wee hours of the morning. I've also heard people that are sort of trying to push on the other side saying Navalny was a shitty person, that he had racist beliefs against Muslims, that he actually wasn't really a dissident, Even though he was an opposition to Putin, he basically was just a Western asset. So he was basically just Russia's version of Zelensky, that he was just this dude that was going to be a puppet of NATO and the Western countries and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much of any of that is true. I don't know shit about the alleged court case. I know this, that the information I get is filtered through Western propaganda mechanisms, and they have a vested interest in telling me a certain story. And their story is always going to be Putin's the most evil possible. So their story, they're going to selectively pick a person that they think Putin has prosecuted that has the beliefs that most align with theirs, and they're going to say Putin's a monster and did everything terrible to this person. That doesn't mean they're wrong. I just don't believe them at face value. I don't. No, it's supposed to be May 1st. I'm on Tim Pool's show. So, my guess is, if I'm just guessing, that Navalny probably was jailed for his political beliefs, and it's horseshit. And he probably wasn't treated well in prison. But the West probably knows that he's not this great patriot Russian that we're led to believe. It doesn't mean it was justified to kill him in jail. And so I just want to start off saying this. Yeah, I mean, if the story we're being told is true, and for the sake of argument, I'm going to say I believe it. I think it's ridiculous that Navalny was killed, died in prison. Yeah, March 1st, not May. Did I say May? March 1st. For Tim Pool's show. I could say that without any qualification whatsoever. Now, is there a chance that we find, that the truth is that Navalny was an American spy that was there to, try to sabotage Russia? I mean, yeah, I guess if that's the case, you could be like, okay, I could see why the dude's in prison. But that's probably not really the case. So I'm willing to say, do I think Putin's the type of guy that would jail a political opponent? Sure. Do I think that Russia's the type of place that if there's a political prisoner that they could be tortured? Well, they have a rich history of it. Read the Gulag Archipelago. So yeah, I'll buy it. And it's terrible. I'll condemn it. Everybody got that? We good? Because 2 minutes from now, anybody that doesn't like me that's watching the show is going to say, Rob's a Putin apologist. Oh, here we go. Rob's pro-Putin. He's spreading Russian talking points. He wanted Navalny to die. That's what's going to be said of me by that crew 2 minutes from now. So I wanted to lay it out in the line, put it out there first, what I think about political dissidents being killed. Everybody got that? We got it? Okay. Now let's move on. Why should I care about Navalny? And I'm not saying that smugly. I mean, as a citizen of the United States, why should I care that a political figure was arrested in another country? To the extent that I should generally care, sure. We could point to dozens of countries on the map where political dissidents have been arrested. Why is it only Navalny we hear about? Why is that? You think something to do with the fact that we're basically at war with Russia? Even if it's a soft war at this point? But if our allies would do something like that, maybe we wouldn't hear about it? You think that's the case? Just wondering. Here's a question I have for you. And answer honestly, if you feel like answering. Should I care more about a political leader in a country being arrested and allegedly tortured, killed in prison? Or a regular American being arrested, tortured, killed for being a political dissident in another country? Which one should I, as an American, care more about? Which one do you think? If you're an American, or if you're not an American, let's say you're British and you're watching, should you care more about a British citizen? I know what my answer is. As an individual, I could care about a particular person having bad things done to them to my own choosing, right? I could say, I like this person more, I think they're more moral. That as an individual is one thing. But as a country, and what our government and what our government's reaction should be, then the answer is clear. The American. Easily. Our governments exist. All our government is an agreement amongst the citizens of this country to give up some of our personal liberty and wealth to a collective governing body that's supposed to govern for the good of the citizens of this country. That's it. Do I care if innocent people are being killed in another country? I do. Should the United States be getting involved in that? No. Not at this point, for two reasons. One, because it's to the detriment at this point of the people back home that they clearly don't give a shit about. And because the actors in the intel communities in the military-industrial complex clearly don't give a shit for innocent people around the world, and more often than not make the situation worse. So for those two reasons, even if you would argue some philosophical reason that the U.S. should be interventionist, we should not be at this time. Because we cannot trust the leadership of this country to act benevolently or competently. Ask the people hanging from airplane wings as we evacuated Afghanistan. Now you may say, as I'm about to get into a little spiel here, you might say, bullshit, Rob, you're selective. You wouldn't care about an American being imprisoned overseas if it was someone you didn't like. And to that, I would like to introduce you to my friend in the chat here by the name of Aircraft Sparky. Aircraft Sparky and I once had a debate. Rather lively debate, I thought. What was the topic of that debate? Me defending the idea that the United States should be doing everything reasonably in their power to bring back Brittany Griner. Do you think for a second I like Brittany Griner? All she does is talk trash on America. Super woke bullshit. I don't like Brittany Griner. But what was my argument? As an American, I want our government trying to get citizens back if I think other countries have jailed them for bullshit reasons. So anyone that wants to say I'm selective and, when I'm criticizing. Now, are there Americans imprisoned overseas that I haven't talked about? Absolutely. But that's because I don't know their names. Is it unfair that we knew Brittany Griner's name and we knew her story and not a lot of these other people? Absolutely. Completely concede that. But as a rule of thumb, that's what my belief is. And I can prove it. I have the record to back it up. To the chagrin of people that like me, like Aircraft Sparky. At least I think he likes me. Maybe I'm speaking a little too forwardly there. What it all gets to is this. You can clip this, right? We'll make it succinct here. Ready? I don't give a shit what anybody's opinion is about Navalny. I don't care what they have to say. I don't care about their crocodile tears. I don't believe them that they think the idea of imprisoning dissidents is an important big thing. If they have not said a word about American citizen Gonzalo Lira that was imprisoned and then died in a Ukrainian prison for the crime of, this is what the indictment said, denying Russian war crimes and insulting Ukrainian troops. I'm sorry, but the Zelensky regime not only should be condemned in the same way that Putin should be condemned for Navalny, but should be done so even more harshly by America because they killed an American citizen. Period. End of story. I don't give a shit to see all of these. I don't care that Adam Kissinger and a dime a dozen politicians, Republican and Democrat, are out there today saying this. Oh my God, see, we have to act fast. Now we need to pass this Ukrainian money. We have to now. We have to stand up to Putin. And the way they do that is to send this money and military munitions to Ukraine. So the argument they're making is Putin's such a monster, he must be punished. And the best way to punish him is by sending this money to Ukraine. Except Ukraine did what Putin did. Zelensky did what Putin did. He jailed a political dissident. And unlike Navalny, who I have no problem if you want to say, my God, what Russia did to him is terrible. That's fine. I'm with you. But there's a question as to whether or not that justifies a U.S. policy action. There is no question if a country intentionally jailed an American for being a political dissident and they ended up dying in prison. There's no question the U.S. needs to act. For Brittany Griner, when our enemy Russia had her, what did the United States do? They went out of their way to get her back by giving up what we're told is a dangerous arms dealer called the Merchant of Death. That's how much they went out of their way to get Griner back. You could agree or disagree with whether or not they should have done it, but that's what they did. With Gonzalo Lira, our ally, not only did we not make any moves whatsoever to get him back, as far as I could tell, we continued to advocate to send billions of dollars after they imprisoned him. No one spoke up for him. Now, I've spent the better part of today posting to Michael McFaul and Adam Kissinger and Eric Erickson and all these people that are like, my God, we need to condemn Putin. We must send money to Ukraine right now. Over and over and over. Gary Kasparov, the former chess champion. If Russia needs to be punished because Putin killed Navalny, why doesn't Zelensky need to be punished because he killed an American citizen, Gonzalo Lira? None of them respond. It's all propaganda. That's all it is. They're making another push to send more of your money to Ukraine. That's what they give a shit about. They don't care about the people of Ukraine. They don't give a shit about Navalny. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't have a standard. They don't give a shit about countries imprisoning political dissidents. They don't give a shit that Assange is in prison. At all. People beating their chests. How dare Putin do this? Assange's still fucking in prison right now. Thank you, Nigel Berry, for the super chat, $5. It says, fam, did you talk about the FBI informant caught lying? Sorry, just joined. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I talked about it yesterday, but yeah, that's part of what we're going to talk about. That'll be the second half of the show. So stick around, Nigel. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't even try to, none of them even try to respond. And by the way, this is a very effective tactic of controlling the narrative. Just don't talk about it. That's what all the left did with the Her report. You had a couple of people that were like, oh, it's different. He cooperated. They said that real quick. Biden cooperated and he doesn't have a dementia. And that's it. They moved on. They didn't talk about any of the specifics. Why? Because they hope something broke in the news, which it always does. Anytime there's bad news for Biden, all of a sudden something breaks in the news. Now, I'm not making a conspiracy claim that Navalny died on purpose or something like that to break the news. But the news is always, stuff's always happening, one. And second, the thing that did break that has suspicious timing is the arrest of this confidential human source. Oh boy, that's what we'll talk about now. Forget that Her shit. Forget the fact that we were literally just told, well, the president broke a law, he committed a crime, but we can't charge him because he has dementia. Forget about that. I didn't forget. I debated last night. If you're wondering how that went, go ahead and watch last night's debate and take a look. I'd say the debate was over and I won 5 minutes, you think it took? And then it was just dragging him through the mud from there. Oh, is that what Nigel Thornberry? That's a clever name. Yeah. Pretty clever. I like that show. They don't give a shit. They're not even going to attempt to say anything about Gonzalo Lira. Huh? Who? And it's effective. They control the narrative. So the biggest story in the country today was Navalny. When did Gonzalo Lira die? A month ago? They didn't say a peep. Did you hear one Democratic politician say anything? I barely heard any Republicans say anything. Was the mainstream media talking about it? Nope. It was obvious to me. Dude, we're sending billions of dollars to this country. They're our ally. I did a whole video on it. Went for hours on it. I said this. I said, it's one thing if your enemy does it. It's another thing when your ally does it. It's a third thing when the country that's basically sole reason for existing right now is because we're paying for it to do it. They're entirely dependent on the West at this point, Ukraine. The least they could do is not fucking murder our citizens for disagreeing with them politically. That seems like the least you could do. And if they're unwilling to at least give that concession, then we'd say, no more money for you. But no, the Biden team, all the people that want to send the money, none of them said, wait a minute, you killed an American citizen. They freaked out when Russia jailed Brittany Griner. They freak out when Navalny dies, but they don't have shit to say when our ally does it to an American. They have shit to say. It's the most obvious example of propaganda I've seen in a long, long time. Yeah, the judgment against Trump. You're right, that's in the way. People that didn't give a shit. They're not even bothering to try to, and that's what I'm saying. They're not saying, well, wait a minute. With Gonzalo Lira, this is what we thought. They never mentioned Lira. They're never going to mention Lira. No media person's going to ask the Biden administration about Gonzalo Lira. That's it. They asked him once, like, should you have done more? And they were like, well, we'll get back to you, basically. That's it. No one said, why are we sending money to them if they murdered an American? They're not going to be forced to answer. I don't know. Am I saying Navalny? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't give a shit. Apologies to Navalny and his family. I don't want him to die. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I don't watch a lot of news. I read, so sometimes I mispronounce. Navalny? Is that how it is? Probably. Whatever. Now, there were people, though, no-name people, rando Twitter people, that had to say some stuff about it, right? We'll start with maybe some of the less egregious, believe it or not. Dude Process, I think he goes by on Twitter, which I will say this about him, said some nice things about my dog, so I'll give him that credit. So I've been trying to be polite and respond to him. This was his claim. Right. First off, I've heard this claim over and over again. Well, I guess we'll start in a more general sense. Here's why Lira dying in a prison was no big deal. You ready? Here we go. He was a shitty person. I don't care. I think Brittany Griner's a shitty person. Some people are saying Navalny was a shitty person. He said some really grotesque things about Muslims. So does that mean he deserved to die? Then there are people who are saying the difference is Putin murdered Navalny, but Zelensky didn't murder. Thank you, Gizmo. I appreciate the cheer. I really do. But Zelensky didn't murder Lira. Okay, one, let's assume that's true. They still both jailed political dissidents that ended up dying in jail. It's effectively a murder sentence. Secondly, it seems as if, even if we take the official story that Lira died of pneumonia, probably lack of access to good health care, the fact that he was excommunicado and couldn't talk to anyone probably contributed to that. So they led directly to his cause of death. Thirdly, prove to me that Putin murdered Navalny. He may have, but where's your proof? Everybody's saying it as if it's a fact. Anybody seen the autopsy? Guy died today and people are like, yep, murdered. Maybe. But it just goes to show the fact that they're like, there's no way Zelensky murdered. We don't consider that murdered Lira. But yeah, Putin definitely, he murdered him. Now, they're going to say, well, allegedly in the past, he poisoned him. Maybe so. But is he going to poison him in prison? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. The reason these people are saying Putin murdered Navalny, there's two reasons. The good faith reason would be because, well, the mere fact that he jailed a political dissident, the obvious end conclusion was the dude was going to die in prison, so we call that murder. I could live with that, but by that same token, same could be said of Zelensky and Lira. Or you're just a partisan hack and you want it to be murder, so it justifies your Russian aggression even more and sending more aid to Ukraine. So you're going to call it a murder. And you don't know shit. So Lira was a bad person. He wasn't murdered, but Putin. Those are both dispensed of quickly. This is one of my favorites because I had this argument when we were talking about Gonzalo Lira last. Lira was a spy. Lira was filming troop locations and movements and then sending them to Putin. So it wasn't just that he was a political dissident. It was that he was a spy who was directly helping Russia and Vladimir Putin. Okay, one, that's exactly what Russia's going to say about Navalny. They're going to say the same thing. He's a Western spy. He's trying to take us down. Secondly, I've asked everyone over and over. I've found what I am 99% sure is the Ukrainian indictment of Gonzalo Lira. I read the indictment. I have no reason to believe the translation's inaccurate that I read. And in that indictment, the two charges that they leveled against Gonzalo Lira, that they charged him and imprisoned him for, the two charges were as follows. One, he was denying Russian war crimes. And second, he insulted Ukrainian troops. That's it. That's bullshit. That's what we call in this country free speech. There was this guy after 9/11. His name was Ward Churchill. I believe he was part Native American. And he went in this big college tour telling everyone how 9/11 was deserved and it was the U.S.'s fault. I find that to be repugnant. Do I think he should have been jailed? No. I've seen many people insult the troops in the United States here. For example, after Vietnam. Should those people have been in jail because we were at war and they were denying Vietnamese war crimes and insulting American troops? No. So why should we accept it from Ukraine? Furthermore, the big bugaboos seem to be that he was there doing this stuff. He tried to leave. What harm could he do? If he would have fled to the United States or to another Western country and continued to make videos saying, screw Zelensky, screw the Ukrainian troops, whatever, doesn't matter. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. If he would have done that, would Ukraine said, we're going to arrest this guy, we're going to go out of our way to arrest him? They would have said, well, you could say that in your country. Or if I say that here, if I say Zelensky's a tyrant, and then for whatever reason I end up in Ukraine, can I be arrested because I said that here in America on my channel? Could I be arrested for that? That's the country we're sending billions of dollars for? Thank you, Juicy Grandpa 420. What a great name for the follow. I appreciate it. Oh, I see what's happened. So what's happened here is I got botted. That's what's going on. So one of the Zelensky NAFO people have probably botted me is my guess. Maybe not. We'll see. But I've had that happen before where I just keep getting followers that are silly names. We'll see. So all these people are like, no, he was given troop positions. I'm like, show me. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm still saying that. I'm not saying that couldn't be the case. Show me. Where in the indictment does it mention, and he was filming Ukrainian troops and then giving the information to Russia? I read the indictment. I don't see it. Even that would be a question of whether or not they should arrest him or deport him back to America or Chile, where he was a citizen. Then I had this dude process guy say to me, he said, well, actually, they had proof that he was a spy for Russia and that he was filming troop movements and helping Russia, but they chose not to charge. They chose to treat him with kid gloves. Thanks, John. Well, that is true, Nigel. Ukraine and Israel don't have the same American rules, but we shouldn't be sending billions of dollars to our allies if they are detaining Americans for what is tantamount to free speech, and then they're dying in prison. We should hold them accountable. As soon as they detained an American for that, we should say we want them back. That's what we did with Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner allegedly broke drug use laws, right? We would say in this country, look, we think that the penalty's too harsh, the law is too draconian, we want her back. That should be easy with a country that we're sending billions of dollars. Hey, we're sending you billions of dollars. We're going to stop until you send Lira back. Oh, okay, we'll send them, no problem. But they didn't. If Putin's to be blamed for the jailing of Navalny and him dying in prison, why shouldn't Zelensky be blamed for the jailing of an American citizen for being a political dissident? For criticizing Ukrainian troops. It's simple. We need to punish Putin. We need to punish him. Okay. Why don't we punish Zelensky? Hell, we don't even have to punish. All we have to do is stop rewarding. Not only are we not punishing, we're rewarding. We have bipartisan efforts to send him tens of billions of more dollars. I mean, they're literally selling. This is the argument today. See, Mike Johnson has to bring to a floor vote, and it'll pass. Make no mistake about it, this propaganda will work. It will absolutely work. It will absolutely work. The narrative is going to be, well, now it's obvious. We have to send these billions to Ukraine because they need to fight a tyrant who would kill a political dissident in prison. We can't have that in this world. And it's like, dude, you're literally funding a tyrant who killed a political dissident in prison. How about we don't fund either? And people are like, oh, you're not going to condemn. Nope, I'll condemn Russia too. Here's my suggestion. Let's not send $60 billion to Russia. Everybody agree? Can we all agree to that? What Russia did was horrible to Navalny. Let's not send them $60 billion. All agree? We're all in agreement here? I don't see anyone speaking up against. Great, we're in agreement. We all agree we shouldn't send 60 billion US tax dollars to Russia because they killed Navalny. Sounds good. I also think we shouldn't send $60 billion to Zelensky because they killed an American citizen, Gonzalo Lira. Right? Oh, that's different. Yeah, isn't that funny, Tikadu? They actually treated him with kid gloves. That's what that dude process guy. They treated Gonzalo Lira with kids gloves. They knew he was a spy, but instead of charging him with that, I don't know how to make it simpler to that. Here's the best analogy I could come up with. Imagine that you're really concerned with gang violence in the United States. And I know this will date me a little. Aircraft Sparky, you're probably similar to my age. Growing up, when you heard about gangs, what were the two gangs that were always fighting? Now it's like MS-13 and, But back when I was growing up, if you're talking about gangs and like a big gang war and two gangs fighting in the United States, does anybody know what were the two gangs everyone always talked about? The Bloods and the Crips. That's right. I don't know if that's still the case, but anyways. So imagine this. Imagine if you put your fist down and you said, this shit cannot stand. I've had it with the Crips. I've had it. What the Crips are doing is out of control. They must be punished, and therefore we're going to send billions of dollars to the Bloods. What? Well, the Crips do things like push drugs and murder innocent people. Right, so do the Bloods. Well, we'll punish those damn Crips by giving the Bloods a bunch of money to fight them. What are you talking about? That's what we're doing. Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne. I'm with Wayne. Let me check something. Sharks and the Jets. There we go. We'll pay those Sharks to beat those Jets. We've had it with the Jets. You're dating yourself more than I am. The little West Side Story there. It's funny. Yeah, I've never seen that. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. They pretend it's what they've done with Ukraine though. They don't give a shit. What do I tell you all the time? The people that are hypocrites about this stuff, it proves two things. They don't care about what they're talking about, but they know you do, and that a lot of people do. So they never gave a shit about kids in cages. How do I know? Because when Biden came into office and there were 4 times more kids in cages, they didn't say shit about it. So they didn't care. But they knew you did. They know that average people, even those that want a tight... I want the border secure. I'm probably more hawkish on the border than most people. I don't want to see one kid ever in a cage. One kid ever detained. I don't give a shit what your feelings are. It is heartbreaking to see kids in a terrible situation like that. It is. Doesn't mean that I think we should just leave everyone through the border and have open borders. That's not what I'm saying. But anybody who has a heart would look at that and say, yeah, that's not good. But they don't give a shit. They don't have a heart. If they had a heart, they wouldn't use it for a political motivation and then shut their fucking mouth when their side was doing it worse. They don't care. It's the same here. They don't give a shit about locking political dissidents up. If they did, they would have been yelling about Gonzalo Lira being locked up. But they didn't give a shit. They would be furious about Assange being locked up. But they didn't give a shit. They didn't care. They know that the average person, myself included, is like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up if Russia jailed a political dissident and then he died in prison. That's screwed up. That's true. That's how I feel. That's how a lot of Americans are going to feel. Probably most of them. But they don't care. Because that's what Zelensky did, and they don't give a shit. The media won't even cover it. They don't care at all. It's just another excuse for them to launder more money to Ukraine. That's it. And they don't give a shit about Ukraine. They don't care that the biggest victim in their ongoing war that they're prosecuting, instead of trying to have a peaceful resolution, that the real loser is going to be the average person on the ground in Ukraine. That's who's going to lose at the end the most. They don't give a shit. Just like they don't give a shit about the people of Afghanistan that we were told for years and years that we needed to support and help. They don't give a shit for the people in Syria. They didn't give a shit for the people in Iraq. They didn't give a shit for the people in Libya. They don't care. That's why they select. Isn't it weird? They only selectively look at certain places and say, oh, these abuses matter here. They matter here. Political dissidents, you can't look them up. That's terrible that Russia's doing it. Well, let's take a look around the world. Let's take a look at what the U.S. and their allies are doing. I don't think it's to the level necessarily of what Navalny's doing, but maybe you missed the whole, we're treating a political group like terrorists in this country and locking up nonviolent people for years and years and years. Just today, we're weaponizing civil cases to cost Trump 300-something million in an obvious bullshit case. Our intelligence agencies have routinely been spying and doing everything they can to extend the law as much as possible to go after the political group that they don't like. Julian Assange. What did Assange do that was so bad? Assange was a curator of information, much in the same way that the New York Times is. Imagine that the Washington Post would have all been arrested and jailed in perpetuity when the Pentagon Papers were brought to them. That's what Assange did. Assange didn't hack any computers. Assange was someone that people would bring information to and he would give it to the people. Just like, remember when Rachel Maddow got a hold of Trump's tax returns? It was illegal that someone got a hold of Trump's tax returns. Then they gave him the Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow reported on him. That's basically what Assange was doing. How many years has he been imprisoned? You want to know why Assange is in prison? And Rachel Maddow isn't? Or anyone from the New York Times isn't? Want to know why? Because the New York Times and Rachel Maddow work on behalf of the establishment, and Assange challenged the establishment. Want to know why Navalny is being looked at and said that, oh my God, this cannot stand, but Gonzalo Lira isn't? Because going after the person that allegedly killed Navalny is beneficial to the establishment, and going after the person that allegedly killed Lira is detrimental to the establishment. That's it. That's the only difference. And it's going to work. Make no mistake. I'll bet that Ukraine bill passes. I'll bet. We'll see. The other thing I want to say about this, I'll say this real briefly. To all the people that have a bleeding heart for Ukraine and talk about it all the time, streamers and such, the biggest one I would know is Dylan Burns. I haven't seen Dylan, I could be wrong, I haven't seen Dylan Burns say one word about Ukraine and the Zelensky regime killing Gonzalo Lira. And I messaged him under one of his messages today about the need to send Ukraine money and about Navalny. The other thing is, you can go to my X feed if you want, and I posted this. I've been blocking a lot of people. I'm blocking anyone that basically, like the first guy I blocked today on this topic was like, well, Gonzalo Lira deserved to die because he was a smoker. He killed himself. Block. Over and over, people, he deserved it. He deserved it. If he didn't deserve to die, he deserved to be imprisoned. Why? He's a traitor, pro-Russian. Traitor, Russian apologist, so he deserved to be locked up or die. So I posted this. Dylan laughed about him dying. I'm not surprised. I believe that too. Fuck him. If Dylan would happen to cross the border into Russia and be captured and then put in prison and tortured and killed, would people find that funny? I wouldn't. I'd think it's fucking heinous. But they laugh when it happened to Lira. Think of this, though. Think of what they're saying. What happened to Lira, he deserved it because he was a Putin propagandist. He was spreading Putin's talking points. That's what people were saying over and over again. Do you believe that? I could show you post. You all believe that, right? Because I could show you the post. People believe me when I say that, right? That they're saying, oh, Lira deserved it. He was a Russian propagandist. He was spreading Putin's talking points. He deserved it. You remember a while ago when I debated this guy, I'm really important, and he won't debate me anymore because he said he likes to stay in his bubble, which is code for I got my ass kicked, and so I don't feel like getting my ass kicked again. One of the things we talked about was Russia invading Ukraine and things surrounding it. And we were talking about the biolabs, and I was talking about how there were these biolabs, and I was going through the history of it, and that they were supposed to start deactivating these weapons like in 2004, 2005, but for some reason it's taken years and years, and there's these dangerous weapons that are in these biolabs in Ukraine that are basically ran by the United States that are only miles away from the border of Russia, and how Russia would be pissed, and how if the United States had that situation, if China had biolabs that we knew had weapons or weapons-grade material in it, in Mexico, 20 miles off the border, we'd be furious. What did I'm really important say to me over and over? What did he keep calling me? What did he keep saying I was doing? Anyone remember? He said it over and over and over. Kept saying it. He said, you are, what did he say? No, he didn't say I was a conspiracy theorist. It was something more specific. Can anyone guess? I'll give you a clue. We just talked about it. Nope, wasn't fear-mongering. What did we just talk about? Why did Gonzalo Lira deserve to die or be imprisoned? That's right. I was spreading Russian talking points. And today, I've had post after post when I was talking about Gonzalo Lira dying that I'm spreading Russia's talking points, or I'm a Russian apologist. And then if you want to know how that went with I'm really important, I said that's a childlike way. That's childish to look at things that way. And then he got pissed and said, how dare I call him names? So let's rehash. Gonzalo Lira deserved to be imprisoned or die because he's spreading Russian talking points. And I, robnoerr, am spreading Russian talking points. And Aftershock spreading Russian talking points. And Sparky would be spreading Russian talking points. And anyone that doesn't want to send any more money to Ukraine is spreading Russian talking points. And anyone that's upset with the treatment of Gonzalo Lira is spreading Russian talking points. He called me Russia Today, Rob. Let's rehash that. Anyone against the current policy is spreading Russian talking points, and Gonzalo Lira deserved to be imprisoned or die because he was spreading Russian talking points. What do you think they want to do to you? What do you think they want to do to me? Do you think the people today that were telling me, fuck off, you're spreading Putin's talking points, you're a traitor, do you think they'd shed a tear if tomorrow I was imprisoned? And then I went excommunicado for 3 months, and then 3 months from now there's a report that's like, not that popular streamer robnoerr died in prison today. You think they'd shed a tear? That's right, the same thing they want to do to Trump. And they claim that you're the authoritarian, you're the fascist. So just remember that. I thought it was important to let people know that that shit was going on today. And you can go to my feed on X, you'll find it. Mixed in with a bunch of me arguing with Pisco on this confidential human source. So remember, it's all bullshit. Don't listen to a goddamn person that tells you that you have to be furious and we need as a country to do something against Russia because of what Putin did to Navalny, who don't have shit all to say about Gonzalo Lira. Don't listen to them. And if anything, they should be more upset about Lira because he was an American citizen. It's all propaganda. They don't care about Navalny. They don't care about Lira. They don't care about the Ukrainian people. They don't care about the idea of jailing political dissidents being something we can't stand. They'll do it in a heartbeat, or they'll defend it in a heartbeat if it's their political ideology, their globalist agenda. Throw it right in their face. Any one of them. All right. Let's get on to this confidential human source. Actually, real quick, I'm going to spend the least amount of time on this. I want to talk briefly about the judgment against Trump. First off, is anyone here surprised that Trump was found guilty? Anyone? Is anyone surprised? If you didn't know, Trump was found guilty in the overvaluating his properties, and he's been fined $350 million and change, and he can't do business in New York anymore. Yeah, that's true. He was found guilty before it started. That's absolutely true. But does anyone find at the magnitude of, or surprised at the magnitude of the fine? No. And it's not because, he's obviously guilty. It's because we all know what's going on. The prosecutor was a woman who ran on promising, I'll get Trump for something. For something. We knew that this New York judge was going to find him guilty. It was going to sentence a big... Everybody knew it. We all know it. That's the world we live in now. We know. Every single one of these charges against Trump, we could right now, secretly, like I could even do it with left-wingers. Like I could meet up with Destiny and, Pisco and Rachel Maddow, and a big group of us could come together and be like, let's just wholesale make shit up about Trump. Wholesale make it up. Blatantly bullshit. Just blatant bullshit. There would be, if it was an anonymous person, would be laughed out of any court. And let's take it to a deep blue area and get it in front of a jury. And there's a 99% chance they're convicting. We all know it. We all know it. And every legal mind that saw it that was being honest would be like, this is clearly a bullshit case. No way they'll go for it. And we all know they would. We all know it. He's going to be found guilty by a jury in every single one of these. And people on the other side of the ledger are going to be found innocent almost every single time. I don't even remember the guy's name now. Remember, was it Charles Dolan? One of the people that Durham indicted? And they had him dead to rights, like it was obvious that he didn't tell them that he was working for Clinton when he was talking to the FBI. And the jury was like, we don't give a fuck, innocent. Not guilty. Whatever, he's working for the Clintons. Fine, fuck it. Is there any way to objectively prosecute? Well, he certainly could commit crimes. But at this point, if the system is so corrupt against him, how can you believe them? That's the problem. We talked about this yesterday briefly, where someone was saying that, what do you think about Destiny calling himself pro-establishment or pro-institutions? And the argument, apparently, I don't know this, but the person said the argument Destiny makes is basically, as a republic, we need to have strong institutions that people have faith in order to have some cohesion. And Destiny's absolutely right about that, if that's what he said. He's right. The problem is we don't have institutions that people trust because they're corrupt and the corruption's obvious. So now we're in a difficult spot. More than half the country, well, at least half the country, depends on what polls you look at. Roughly half the country, we'll say, doesn't trust all sorts of institutions. Don't trust pharmaceutical industry. Don't trust the mainstream media. Don't trust our politicians. Don't trust our legal system. What do you do with that? So now, the easiest example is like our science field, the medical field. They don't trust. Let's say tomorrow a real, honest-to-God pandemic hits. And let's say that scientists really look at it and say, look, the best thing for this is for people to wear a mask and stay locked down for 15 days. Who the fuck's going to believe them? Who would believe them? I wouldn't. Would you? And they might be right. They might be saying, wait a minute, this time we're not bullshitting you. Too late. It would be a disaster. Because no one's going to take them seriously at this point. Because they've shot their credibility lying the last time. Boy who cried wolf. You cry wolf so many times when the wolf comes, no one believes you. That's what's happening. So the idea that we need institutions of people, Destiny's approach, the people like that, their approach is, how dare someone like Rob criticize the institutions? They should just accept them. They should just trust the science. They should just listen to them no matter what. Even if those institutions are biased against people like me. I should still accept them, listen to them, not question them. That's what he says. Because if I start to question them, it leads to a snowball effect where people don't trust the institutions and then all hell breaks loose. So in other words, the people getting screwed over, it's better for them to just keep their mouth shut. I disagree. I think that the way to get trust in the institution isn't by silencing the people rightfully criticizing the institution. It's by weeding out corruption and incompetence in the institutions themselves. That's the fundamental difference. I know the bare bones about this case in New York. I know Letitia James and who she is, and she promised to get Trump. I know that the judge seems like a goofball that's clearly out to get Trump. I know that the banks, the banks, I know the gist of the case, which was that Trump overvalued his properties. And at least one of the ways she was suggesting, and this is the thing, here's the problem. When the legal system does something that's obvious bullshit, let's say I have a case and I have 5 planks to the case, 5 examples of how I'm a prosecutor, I'm going after Aircraft Sparky. And I'm like, he did these 5 things that are against the law. We're charging him with 5 things. We're going to have a trial, right? And all you know is the one thing that gets put out there publicly that I'm charging with is absolute clear bullshit. Or the evidence that I put out is absolute clear bullshit. Like, right? I'm like, here's a picture of Sparky, carjacking someone. And you look at it and you're like, holy shit, that's a clip from Grand Theft Auto 5. You're not going to believe the rest of the shit I say. You're going to be like, wait, what? So I know that one of the arguments that was made was that Trump overvalued his properties because Mar-a-Lago's actually only worth some pittance of money because that's what the tax assessment is. So you have the appraisal value of a home, which is sort of what you would expect it to sell for. And that's when you're borrowing money. Like if you get a mortgage, that's what the bank's going to give you, right? The bank, so for example, say you buy a house for $100,000 and you're someone like me that doesn't have $100,000 cash. So you have to get a mortgage in order to purchase the house. The bank, what they're going to do is say, what do we think the value of the house is, the appraisal that it could potentially be sold for? Because if I don't pay my mortgage, they're going to take my house and then try to sell it. And they don't want to be out money. So if they're going to give me $100,000, they want to be sure that they could get back $100,000 if they sell the house or more. So that's sort of the appraisal value, right? Then there's the tax assessed value. Now, I don't know how it is everywhere. I know how it is around here. Almost everyone I've ever met that purchased a house or got a mortgage, the appraised value was higher than the tax assessed value. For example, let's say someone bought a house at $85,000 and they got a mortgage and the mortgage was for $90,000, whatever it need to be, or it's for $75,000 anyways, but the house was appraised, they paid $85,000. The property tax on that might value the house assessed at $50,000. That's the way it works. And so I know it's bullshit when I could look at property values of empty lots around Mar-a-Lago and see that they're worth more than what the alleged tax assessed value of Mar-a-Lago is. That's bullshit. And so everything about it, I don't give a shit if it's like, but Rob, did you watch day 33 of her case? And she made this good point. Fuck all that. If that's part of her evidence, bullshit. I also know that people like Kevin Leary from Shark Tank and many, many other people. In fact, I have not heard one person that's in this sort of speculative real estate market who does shit like Trump did, big real estate dealers. Everyone that I've seen comment has been like, what the fuck is going on? This is literally the normal process of how shit goes. Literally. You throw a figure out there, then the bank sends their assessors and says, well, this is what the value we're willing to give you. And that's what happened in this case. Unless I'm mistaken, and I'm willing to have someone come on and tell me I'm wrong. And we'll look at the evidence. And someone can tell me in the chat right now that I'm wrong. All of the banks were happy with the arrangement. The bank said, yes, we accept the value. And we'll give you this money. Trump got the money. Trump paid the money back with interest on time, I think even early. And the bank said they would do business with him again. And my understanding from listening to people like Kevin Leary is that's literally how every single person in this industry operates. And now everyone's like, wait, what? You could fine him $350 million for that? Thank you, Viceroy Xerxes. I appreciate the sub, man. So this is the only thing I'll say real quick about this case, and then we'll move on. To me, this is the fundamental question I have. Can someone show me a case where someone went to a bank and said, this is what I value my property at? The bank looked at it and said, we agree. The loan was given. The loan was paid back with interest. The bank was happy. And that person was still found guilty in a civil court. Can anyone show me one example of that ever happening? Ever. I haven't heard one. Why is it that when we're going after Trump, it's always almost every time it's unprecedented? We've never got anyone for the Logan Act, but we're going to go after Mike Flynn for it. What? We've never raided a former president's house, but we're going to do it to Donald Trump. We've never used a FICE warrant to go after a president, but we're going to do it for Trump. We've never criminally charged someone for paying off an extortionist like Stormy Daniels. We always just have them pay fines. We're going to do it for Trump. We never really go after people connected to political campaigns for FIRA violations, but we're going to do it to Trump's team. Every single time it's like, oh, and my point the whole time is, and I say this over and over and over. I said this in the debate last night several times. Thank you, Gizmo, for the resubscription. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing great, man. I said it over and over last night. I said the problem is when we have laws that are selectively enforced. I don't give a shit. If they would be like, okay, we're going to do this to Trump, and here's 733 other real estate developers that we're now filing charges for through too. I would say I'm suspicious that they started with Trump, but so be it. If that's going to be the way the law's applied now, so be it. If we're going to start going after people for VAR violations like Paul Manafort, okay, well, that's literally thousands of people in D.C. Get them all. They still won't get Hunter Biden. I don't know if you saw it, but Blue Star Strategies, the group that he worked for to help Burisma, the lobbying group in the United States, they literally, just like 2 months ago, had to retroactively file paperwork and charges aren't going to be levied against them. But Paul Manafort's in jail. Yeah, that's true, Sam. Same token. That's absolutely true. That's a good point. Because of whose property it is, that could drive up the value. A sweatshirt could be a $20 sweatshirt, but if it was the sweatshirt that John Lennon wore the day before he died, it's going to be worth way more than $20, right? So that's what I have to say about the case. Another unprecedented, and it's obvious what's going on. It doesn't matter if it gets overturned on appeal. The whole point is to damage Trump right now, to hurt him in the election. That's the point. Bankrupt him. Suck up all of his time. And the DeSantis people that said that's why the Democrats want Trump as the nominee are absolutely right. They are right. It puts you in a difficult position because your gut reaction's like, dude, fuck you. You're going to try to indict this guy in a billion ways and bullshit ways? You're going to try to do that? Fuck off. That's who we're going to support then. But that's what they wanted. It's true. And if you have any question about this, about how corrupt these systems are, go watch Fani Willis on the stand yesterday. And then go to X and see all of the even blue checkmark people, like the real media people that are like, she did great. It was one of the most disgusting, I don't even want to say disgusting. It was shocking to me in that, like, I could understand someone on the stand acting like her that's like, you know, someone who's a drug addict, you know, who goes on the stand and is just insanely hostile, right? She's literally the lead prosecutor who literally, her and her lover, literally could change the course of this country by indicting one of the two candidates for president of the United States. She's one of the most important, powerful people in the country right now because she has that potential power to determine who the president might be for the next 4 years. And she acts like a complete ass. And so many Trump haters are like, yeah, wonderful. She did it. Great job. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't give a shit. You could watch that. If you had no idea, if you were just like, oh, this is some random Netflix special. Is this like, maybe that's Aaron Hernandez's girlfriend or something, you know, and she's acting like, so you'd be like, well, it's fucking terrible. But you're like, oh, what's that? She's the prosecutor going after Trump? And all the lefties are like, oh. Well, how do you think those same lefties would have reacted if Trump acted like that on the stand? How do you think they would act? Would they say powerful and brave? No, you might say that's sort of how Trump acts. And sometimes he does act an ass. Absolutely true. He ain't the prosecutor. You expect more of the people that are servants of the court, that are prosecuting the case. All right, now I want to get to a little bit of this confidential human source. I know Nigel asked about it, so let's talk about it. Now, you can go to X and you can see my 7-minute video on it from yesterday, and I still stand by everything I said, but there's a couple things to say in addition to it, so I'll give a brief rundown. Confidential human source ends up saying around 2020 that he had a meeting with Zlochevsky, the owner of this company, Burisma, and basically he had several meetings where basically it went like this. He told me that basically they hired Hunter Biden and he was stupid, but they hired him to get all of these investigations into Burisma dropped. And then at one point he says, I paid $5 billion to Hunter Biden and $5 million to Hunter Biden and $5 million to Joe Biden to get these investigations against me dropped. Now that's damning. That claim is damning, right? And it's worth saying that. And I did say it at the time. The FBI then fought to keep that evidence under wraps so that the public wasn't able to see it. Republicans on the impeachment panel, I think, pushed to get that evidence made public. So it was made public. We got to see it in about July of last year. And that claim, that's the first direct claim we have of a specific person that would have knowledge, someone who talked to Zlochevsky, the owner of Burisma, saying, I gave a bribe directly to Joe Biden. So it makes it damning. That's something, and I said at the time, it's damning in the sense that it's something that warrants a serious investigation. And I said that it warrants an investigation at least commiserate, if not more, than the investigation against Trump for Trump-Russia collusion. Because if you remember, the salacious details about Trump, none of it directly tied him to criminality. It suggested people around him had done stuff that was criminal, but there was never anything that said Vladimir Putin gave Trump this amount of money to do X. Never occurred. So when it comes to an investigation into these figures, Biden is accused of worse doing. Does that mean necessarily that that accusation's true? No, but there should be an investigation. Nonetheless, we find out now in 2024 that the confidential human source, a guy by the name of Smirnov, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, like the rum or whatever. Vodka? Is that what? I don't know. It's spelled differently though. Anyways, he allegedly lied. And the way they proved he lied was they were unable to find any sort of passports or any sort of travel verifications that he was at the places he said that he was. And they basically found messages of him from like 2017 that seemed to be messages that were like, nice to meet you. Thank you for introducing me, blah, blah, blah. Like type of shit that you would get when you're first meeting someone. So if he met them in 2015 and 2016, this would be bullshit. Now we'll see what the defense is. Right? And that's what I said. I don't know. He might have an explanation for that and say, this is ridiculous, and here's further proof that actually I'm not lying. That could happen. I don't know. But the case is outlined. Looks not good for the guy. I'll be honest. And let me be quite clear here. If this guy intentionally made shit up in order to try to arrest Joe Biden or try to harm Joe Biden, he should be charged with a crime. And if he did so because someone like Rudy Giuliani paid him to make shit up, he should be charged with a crime. And I know people like Bisco are out there saying, we need a special counsel to investigate Trump and Rudy to see if this is the case. I completely disagree. There's already an investigation from a special counsel looking into shit, David Weiss. Let's see what he turns up. However, there are several things to say about this. One, I've already said, we don't know what the proof is. Second, we have evidence that the FBI has behaved in corrupt ways before, so this could be a bullshit charge. Third, the timing of it is suspicious. They've had all this time where they could have charged this guy, but they wait right until the week that the Her report came out and Biden basically has his worst week. And they did it right around the time that Tony Bobulinski, who is the business partner of James and Hunter Biden, testified that yes, Joe Biden was involved in the business arrangements, and yes, Joe Biden was paid, and yes, Joe Biden was the big guy that was getting 10%. So it comes out right at that time. Hardly anyone's talking about Tony Bobulinski, huh? The business partner of Hunter Biden saying, yep, his dad personally met me and was involved in these businesses. Pretty fucking big story, right? But we ain't talking about it. Myself too. I should be talking about it more. But I'm kind of talking about it. Anyways. Here's some more things to say. What was this guy? He was a trusted confidential human source. Now that might sound familiar to you because we had a lot of discussion in this country the past 6-7 years about confidential human sources, particularly a guy by the name of Christopher Steele. And Christopher Steele was also a trusted confidential human source. Now, Christopher Steele put out a dossier that was obvious bullshit. There were all sorts of glaring contradictions and inaccuracies that a layman could have picked out, like saying activities happened at the Russian consulate in Miami when there's not a Russian consulate in Miami, or embassy, whatever it was. Shit like that. Or Michael Cohen was in Prague on this date, where it was clear to see that like he had video evidence he was at a ball game or some shit and never had a passport that he was in Prague. Simple shit. And yet they used that dossier to not only get a FISA warrant to spy on Trump's team, but to also investigate Trump. For years, they investigated the allegations in this FISA warrant, knowing that it was paid by Hillary Clinton, knowing that it was sourced by a suspected Russian spy. And one of the reasons that they gave was, well, because we just trusted Christopher Steele. He was a trusted source. So we took what he said at face value. Now, one of the things I think's funny is, and this is going to get into a little, it's sort of personal drama, but not because it's focused on the issues. Person that I love to debate on here all the time, Pisco, right? Now, Pisco is involved in this situation in that I'd been posting every day. We're on what, day 10 now? I'd been posting on X every day. We're on like day 10. I had all these left-wing streamers that I was debating over and over again, right? That were telling me that it was smoking gun evidence when allegedly Donald Trump said, I have classified material on tape and said it or showed it to a writer. And that was it. That was smoking gun evidence that he willfully committed a crime. Smoking gun, they said. Well, now we have Biden doing that at least 3 times. And, oh wait, none of them have commented on it. Don't have anything to say. Guy last night at least debated on it. Didn't go too well for him. The only other person I've seen speak up that I debated previously that said that sort of things was Pisco. And what Pisco did was saying, Rob, hold on. I can't comment on that because I have to read the whole report. I can't comment on little snippets. Can't do that. Can't go to that section and read about it. Nope, I got to read. Sorry, it's been 9-10 days. Can't get to it. Just can't get to it. Can't comment on it until I read the whole thing, so I just don't know. Now, this is bullshit. It's obviously a bullshit tactic because even if I would believe Pisco's doing that, that's clearly not what's going on with everyone else. They're trying to ignore the story, hoping the news cycle changes so they could move on and pretend it never happened. This is what they do every time there's something that's really bad for Biden or for their side that comes out. Every single time. They ignore it, wait for the news cycle to change, and then when you go on a panel and they bring it up, they go, that's whataboutism. That's the game they play. In fact, when I used to do panels all the time, that's one of the things I bitched about the most. They would constantly control what the topics were of that panel. And then when you tried to bring up the scandals that were bad for their side, they said, we don't want to talk about that. That's whataboutism. You know how many times I had to talk about Ted Cruz going to Cancun during a storm? But we couldn't talk about the lefties that were telling you that you needed to be locked down while they were going out to the French Laundry or buying ice cream and shit. That was never the topic of conversation for some reason. And when you bring it up, they'd say, that's whataboutism. Can't talk about that. It's horseshit. That's what they do. And it's not just them. That's what the media does. That's what the Democrats do. That's why they didn't say shit about Gonzalo Lira. And now all of a sudden Navalny's a big story. That's what's going on. So that's what Pisco and company are doing. But okay, let's take Pisco at his bullshit word. Mr. 5-alarm Pisco. By the way, people keep saying fire alarm. I was calling him 5-alarm like really hot, but whatever. Take it. 5-alarm Pisco. If you wonder why I call him that, it's because even after seeing the video of Jabal Bowman pulling the fire alarm and not even trying to go out the door, Pisco still contends that the most likely scenario is he pulled the alarm to go out the door. Pisco also says, right, when Jabal Bowman, because Pisco is in, this is what happens. When you're not good faith, when you're just out to help your team, you say shit. You say, they did this and that's fucking horrible, right? And then later when you find out someone on your side did that, now you got to look like an ass because you have to say, well, it's okay when my guy does it. And you got to shoot your credibility. So one of the things Pisco said early with the Jabal Bowman thing is to sound more reasonable. It's absurd. It's clearly bullshit if people try to claim he didn't expect that alarm to go off when he pulled it. That's clearly absurd. But that's exactly what Bowman told the police he did. They said, did you intend for the alarm to go off? He said, no. What's happening, Gian McCoder? And Pisco says, wait, and Pisco's also admitted, because he's had to, because of how many people around Trump have been gone after, lying to the police is a crime that should be charged. Absolutely. Absolutely should be. Serious crime. Okay. Well, there you go. Based on your own claims, You said it was clearly bullshit. He clearly intended the alarm to go off. And you said that lying to police is bullshit, or is a big deal. And you see that he lied to police. And Pisco said, no, actually, when he said, I didn't intend for the alarm to go off, what he really meant to say was, I did intend for the alarm to go off. That's Pisco's defense. He actually meant the opposite. We can't charge him with a crime, with lying, because he actually meant the exact opposite of what he said. That's literally his fucking argument. Similarly, his argument is when Trump said, go be peaceful, actually what Trump meant was go be violent. That's what he meant. See how that works? So one of the things I would say is, well, why can't we just say the same here with the indictment of this confidential human source? Oh, when he said he met them in 2015 and 2016, what he really meant was 2017. There, drop the charges, right? Oh no, it's different. This time it's different. Isn't that convenient how that works for Democrats? You don't have to take the word. When Mike Flynn, for example, said that could have happened, I don't remember. Pisco says that's bullshit. That's a clear lie. He does remember. I know he remembers. Isn't that amazing how you could do that? If you're a Democrat, how you could do that? Isn't that great? You're like, no, actual words don't matter. I just say, well, that's a good person. And so I know that we have to, even if it's the exact opposite of what they said, I know that's what they meant because they're a good person and Trump's a bad person. So if he says something, even if I have to interpret it as the exact opposite, I know he's a bad person. So that's how I interpret it. And it's not just randos like Pisco that do it. That's what our fucking legal system does. That's why Jamal Bowman didn't get charged. That's why Trump is being charged. Why he was being kicked off the ballot in Colorado. Because they're like, no. The exact words mean the opposite. So as to benefit our side. That's how it works. So he's already a bad faith sack of shit. It's beyond dispute at this point. That's who Pisco is. I still don't hate him. I still don't want the worst things in the world to happen to him or anything like that. Not saying that. But he's bad faith sack of shit. And you have to know that when you're talking with him. So now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, though. The reason he hasn't commented on Biden reading classified material to his ghostwriter, the reason is he has to read it all. And he's not the type of guy, before he reads the entire document, is going to be posting little snippets. He don't do that shit. That's not how Pisco operates. You need to read the whole thing. Then fast forward to today. So not 24 hours after this indictment comes out, all of a sudden Pisco's tagging me, and would you be shocked to know that he is posting little snippets of the indictment? Wait a minute, how could that be? He said he's not the type of guy that would do that. That's why he wasn't able to skip ahead and read the part of Herr's report about Biden reading classified documents ago. You can't do that. You can't just take a little snippet. You have to read the whole thing. And yet here he was. How can that be? Wait a minute, excuse me? But that's what he did. And then I called him out on it. And he was like, yeah, well, I'm reading it on stream. Smiley face. Because he knows it's bullshit. That's why he puts the smiley face. And not once did he attempt to defend himself. Not once. He just said, I'm reading it on stream. That's it. That's all he said. This mouse wheel is going to be the death of me. Did a lot of tweeting today, I see. Trying to find them. In case you need more evidence, 5-alarm Pisco and Jabal Bowman defender was a hack. For over a week, he hasn't been able to comment on the Herr report, saying Biden read classified info tape multiple times to his writer, and how when Trump did something similar, people like Pisco said it was evidence of a crime. He said he has to read the whole document and it takes time and he wouldn't be able to comment on pieces of it if he hasn't read it all. Now, for me, this seems like BS. It just so happens Pisco and almost all the lefty streamers I debate are suddenly silent on this point. Seems like when a story comes out that's against Trump, they're all over it very quickly, but not here for some reason. Okay, fine. Pisco's not the type of guy that would post snippets. He's going to wait to read it all. So would it shock you today to learn that Pisco's posting snippets of the indictment of the confidential human source and making threads on it? More evidence that he's a bad faith liar. And here he is. Here you can see it. See? And he's, there's snippets. He said just little snippets. And Pisco also does this thing where he'll take screenshots of tweets I make and then he'll post them and not tag me. He's done it twice now in 2 days, so I just wanted to let him know I tag him. I'm not a coward like him. And Pisco responded to that. He said, it's just an accident. Dude, I tag you more than anyone else. Don't act like it's intentional. I intend you to see it. I said, bullshit. Twice in 2 days, you coward. You're posting pics of tweets I posted criticizing me without tagging. Did you finish her report yet? Not yet. You'll be able to track my progress. I'm reading it on stream. Smiley face. Okay. And I say, notice Pisco responded in this thread and didn't even attempt to offer a defense on him not commenting on Biden's classified documents being read on tape because he needs time, but quickly commenting on this indictment. He knows he's full of it and his audience doesn't care. And then this is his response. He just retweets this. Now the point is, he knows he's full of shit. He has no defense of it. None. Now, why does this matter? Because when we get into here now talking about the confidential human source shit, Pisco's at least someone that will interact and he'll try to make arguments. But do you see how bad faith he is? He's full of shit. He's absolutely full of shit. He literally one day says, I can't take little snippets and comment. I need to take time to read the whole thing. I have to. And then the very next day proves he's full of shit. Absolutely proves it. It's very similar, and it sounds meta, and maybe this is boring to people, right? To have these meta conversations, but it's very similar to what I was talking about yesterday before the debate, where I said, I was debating people all over X yesterday and the night before about Republicans like counterpoints that call themselves Republicans and call themselves conservative that went to and got paid by a Democrat PAC called the Progressive Victory PAC, whose stated goal is to make the Democrats win and make them more progressive, got paid by them to help them win elections and say, but I'm a Republican. And my claim of, you're either not a Republican or you give a shit so little about it that you care about the money more, which is fine, whatever. But it's one of those two things. And it was like I lit a stick of dynamite. People coming out of the woodwork. This is ridiculous. Oh, here's Rob gatekeeping what a Republican. How dare Rob accuse? How dare he? Oh my God. What a ridiculous. I've heard it all now. Rob's big claim here. If you get paid for by Democrats to help Democrats win, you're not a Republican. What a load of shit this is. Why would I believe anything that any of those fuckers ever say again? Ever. That's so obviously bullshit. It's such obvious bullshit. I'm not saying, oh, Connor went out and had dinner with Destiny and Dylan Burns. He must be a secret Democrat. It's not what I'm saying. I was quite fucking clear in the post. I said, it's not my jam. I'm not really hanging out with people like that. More power to you. I don't give a shit. And I've said it. I've got shit for people on my stream for saying, I'd probably have a beer with that person. I'd probably hang out with them. I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. I don't have a problem with saying, yeah, I hate Trump so bad, I'm not going to vote for him. And maybe I won't even vote for any Republican. I have a problem and I think it's stupid, and I'll argue with you, but I don't necessarily think that makes you, not a Republican. But when you actively work with the other side, not just to beat Trump, but to help win down ballot for progressive Democrats, and then you're like, I'm a conservative Republican, what the fuck are you talking about? And for these, he wasn't knocking on doors. My understanding is he did not canvass. He provided rhetorical consultation, which I would argue is worse. Because to me, what that means is he said, here's how you convince moderates and Republicans of what to say to help get votes. That's worse than just knocking on doors. That's what he said he was paid at. Logistics and rhetorical consulting. And there were other Republicans there as well. Alleged Republicans. But the point is, it's like, I don't think I'm making a controversial statement when I say, like, dude, you either aren't a Republican or you fucking care more about the money than your political philosophy, which is fine. I wouldn't even give a shit about that. If Connor came out and said, fuck it, I have a family and the Republicans have lost me so much, I just don't give a shit anymore. Yeah, I'll take money for Democrats. I don't care. Okay. But don't gaslight me. No, I'm still a Republican. You're not. You're not, or you're full of shit and you like the money more. It's that simple. I don't give a shit that much that Tiberius D and Connor, whatever. I don't care. And again, I mean this from, I don't like Tiberius D really, but I don't hate him. I don't wish him ill. Another guy has a family. I hope he's channeled through. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'll call him out for his bullshit authoritarianism on vaccine mandates, but nonetheless, whatever. That's policy argument. And we'd snip at each other back and forth. He blocked me on Twitter. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. I hope he's not getting harassed. I don't want anything, but whatever. I don't take that shit personally. I don't. I like Connor. I do. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's a family man. I think he's smart. I think he's a good debater. Tiberius isn't that smart. It's not that good of a debater. But Connor is. He's all right. I like him. Seems like a fucking regular dude. I like that, you know? So I don't have any axe to grind. I'm not saying, oh, you're not really a Republican. I hate you. I don't give a shit. It's just why you sacrifice? And it's not even Connor that's the worst in the defense. It was all these other people speaking for Connor. This is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? That's the same thing here with Pisco. You might say, like, well, is it a big deal that Pisco's still defending Jabal Bowman? Yes. Is it a big deal that he still says that him trying to get out the door was the most likely scenario? Yes, it is. Is it a big deal that he says when Bowman says, I didn't intend for the alarm to go off, what he really meant was I did intend? Yes, it's a big deal. Want to know why? Because I debate him on a bunch of issues that are complicated. And I know he's full of shit. I now know 100% he's bad faith. Even if someone says, yes, I did that crime, if Pisco feels like it, he'll say, what he really meant was, no, I didn't do that crime. What is the point? What is the point of ever trusting anything that... Why would you sell your fucking credibility for that? I don't understand it. And this is another example. Oh, I don't just post snippets. I can't skip ahead. It takes me days upon days upon days, and I have to read the entire thing. So I can't talk about this her thing. Okay, I say. And then the very next day, he disproves it. He's posting snippets. Because the truth is, he's like, oh boy, this is bad for Trump. Yes, I'll jump on it. Now compare that to me. I put a fucking video out on this confidential human source thing condemning the guy if he lied and said he deserves to be in jail, admitting that that does take out the biggest, if it is true that this was a lie, that takes out the biggest smoking gun evidence of Biden being involved in his son's business. Absolutely. I put that out almost immediately. I didn't say, I'll bullshit people and tell them for 2 weeks, oh, I haven't had time to read the indictment. I can't comment. And then Pisco and Pondering and all them are shooting back and forth. I'm talking about the fucking thing. You might think my take's dog shit, but I'm talking about it. No, don't give a Connor boy shit. I saw he typed something good. Is he on here? I saw he typed something good today on Twitter. Just saying, like, yeah, the woman that's running on $50 minimum wage is... It's so ridiculous, do you even need to address it? Right, exactly. Yes, that's basically... I mean, I'm paraphrasing. That's not the... But that's basically what a Connor boy said. It's like, yeah, that's true. It's like, I don't even have to address this. It's kind of dumb. Anyways, so I don't know that he's communist, but anywho. So some more things about the confidential human source. So Pisco's big gotcha to me. I'll see if I could find it. So I don't have to paraphrase. First off, he wants to say this deserves a special counsel, right? The implication he's trying to make here is, well, now it looks like Trump and Giuliani may have paid this guy or worked with this guy to spread obvious bullshit to hurt Hunter and Joe Biden. Why would we need a special counsel for that? He says, well, because we had a special counsel with Crossfire Hurricane, the Trump-Russia collusion investigation. The reason there was a special counsel with the Crossfire Hurricane, one, it's because Democrats requested it. Democrats were that was the IG, I'm sorry. The reason we had a special counsel in the first place was because, well, we initially had the special counsel of Mueller because Comey got fired, even though Rosenstein wrote the memo to say fire Comey. Completely different, though. Then we had the Durham special counsel. Why did we have Durham? Because their IG said that there was laws broken by the FBI and all sorts of corners cut by the FBI in how they did those investigations. That's why we had a special counsel. Is that what Pisco's alleging here? Is he alleging that the FBI intentionally took unverified opposition research and broke the law in some way and did something untoward to go after Biden? Is that his argument? Of course not. His argument's just, well, we need a special counsel to go after Trump. Why? You already have the DOJ. You're already investigating him 6 ways from Sunday. What's the point? Well, because Trump's running for president. Bullshit. Secondly, if that's the case, if we need a special counsel for that, why wasn't there a special counsel to look into Hillary Clinton's team actually working with a suspected Russian spy and actually paying a confidential human source? Did you ever notice this about them? They do this all the time. Pondering does it too. I was arguing with them. They'll always demand that you condemn a hypothetical situation that would be the same as what their side is doing. In other words, they'll say, you need to condemn the fact that Trump said that he might have Barr go after his opponents. Meanwhile, they defend the fact that Biden did have his DOJ Garland go after his opponents. So when it actually happens, and you see this all the time, you go back to Ari Melber saying, my God, if Elon Musk buys Twitter, my God, what if they censored political candidates, kicked them off the platform? What if they promoted ideas of one political party and diminished the other? Right, that's what, they're always afraid, my God, what if you do what we do? That would be terrible. You need to condemn that. You got to condemn doing what we do. Right, that's the type of shit they do. So we need to investigate to make sure Trump didn't do what we know Hillary did, and we didn't investigate or charge her. Trump may have, paid for opposition research that was disinformation designed to harm his political opponent. That's what Hillary did do. But no investigation there, no charges against her. No one gave a shit about that Russia collusion. Isn't that weird? But then his big gotcha after, then he tries to say, when I said, I want the same standard, that's what I want. The big gotcha, let's one more thing before I get to Pisco's big gotcha. They're, of course, saying, this is it. This is a smoking gun. The Burisma scandal falls apart. No, it doesn't. Why? Why does it fall apart? What is the Burisma scandal? Well, the scandal with Burisma specifically is part of a larger outreaching scandal, which is this. Hunter Biden and James Biden and other people in the Biden family were allegedly selling access. They were using Joe Biden as vice president as the brand to go out and lobby and collect money from hostile foreign groups, criminal foreign groups that were working with the government of China, etc. That's the allegation. Was Joe Biden involved with that? If so, it'd probably be criminal, certainly impeachable. If Joe Biden was intentionally getting monies to sell access or to help his son work with hostile foreign groups, that's the allegation. With Burisma specifically, it is Joe Biden was the point person to deal with corruption in Ukraine. Meanwhile, his son was working for one of the most corrupt people in Ukraine, a business owner named Zolchevsky that worked for Burisma. Hunter Biden was specifically getting emails that said, we need you to work with officials in the United States with the goal of getting these investigations shut down. He was talking to officials in the United States and allegedly talking to his father every day. Joe Biden then issued a quid pro quo to get the prosecutor that, at least on paper, was tasked with investigating Burisma. Once that prosecutor was fired, a new prosecutor came in, and within 6 months, that new prosecutor promptly dropped all charges against Burisma. Then the corrupt owner of Burisma comes back to the Ukraine and celebrates. Clear cut. Regardless of what you think, even if you think that Joe Biden did nothing wrong, he was the point person that issued the quid pro quo with your tax dollars, and his firing of the prosecutor, Victor Shokin, directly benefited Burisma in a huge way. You can't slice it. All you could say is, but it was just coincidence. That's all. That's all you could say about it. That story is compact and absolutely complete without the 1023. Without this confidential human source. That story exists. Those are the facts. The 1023 is a separate thing, which was added evidence that would have been a smoking gun if true, which was this guy saying, I heard Zlochevsky say he gave $5 million to Joe Biden. Let me check something real quick. That's a huge deal. That definitely warrants investigation, particularly given the surrounding facts. So it doesn't exist in a bubble. Like, for example, we know Hunter Biden worked there. We know that Zlochevsky was the type of dude that was bribing Western officials, right? We know that Joe Biden issued this quid pro quo. We know that it benefited Burisma. So this doesn't exist in a vacuum, this 1023. It's like, yeah, that would line up with facts that we already know. That doesn't mean the 1023 is accurate. But it's not like it comes out of nowhere. It's not like tomorrow a confidential human source is like, yeah, and by the way, Biden, the president of, the president of Zaire paid Biden $5 million for X. Like, you'd be like, wait, what? Is there anything that happened? Did Biden do anything with Zaire? I can understand being like, that's bullshit. We're not going to really look into that. But in this context, it's like, okay, you have to look into this. So let's say that this CHS was lying and he made it all up. Yeah, it's a big fucking deal. He should be charged. And I'm not going to sit here and go, well, even if he was lying, maybe that bribe still occurred. Bullshit. If he's lying, then that bribe didn't occur. There could have been a different bribe, but we don't have evidence of that specific bribe. We don't at all. No, I'm not debating anyone. Well, how do I talk without self-harm? Because I love debating. I love it for my own entertainment, and I'm a very happy person in the real world. I have a great wife and a great son. So that's how. And so I understand if you're a Biden defender, this is good news for you. What would be the most smoking gun thing? For example, right? If hypothetically, like, Stormy Daniels would come out and go, you know what, Trump, that's not a good example. One of the people in the cases, right? One of the cases, let's say the person came out, one of the key figures, and said, actually, that's not true. I made that up. That wouldn't mean, oh, that's it. Then all of the cases against Trump's drops. But if you're a Trump supporter, you're going to be like, see, that's good news for us. That shows this was bullshit, this part of it. So I don't blame Pisco or anyone else on the left for crowing about that. That's fine. Again, it's not been proven that the CHS was wrong. He's been indicted by what I consider to be a corrupt DOJ and FBI, a corrupt special counsel, in this case, David Weiss. But that doesn't mean Weiss is wrong. So we'll have to see the evidence that comes out. But the indictment itself is reason to celebrate if you're a Biden defender. I'm not disputing that. It does not debunk all of that other shit that I talked about. In fact, on the day that this occurred, we have Hunter Biden's business partner, Tony Bobulinski's transcript being released that is absolutely devastating for the Biden team. You now have to argue that Bobulinski is lying because Bobulinski's saying, I fucking personally met Joe Biden and talked about these business arrangements. I know for a fact that he was getting money from these arrangements. I know that he's the big guy that was getting 10%. I know these messages on Hunter Biden's laptop were real. That's devastating. But this other portion with the CHS, okay. People might say, but Rob, you talked about how the CHS evidence was the best evidence. It was the best evidence in the sense that the allegation was the most direct against Joe Biden. Absolutely. That's right. Fact 3 or Face. Yeah. Two-Face. I guess that's your name. Yeah. Bobulinski testimony is more damning. That's why they're not talking about it. Again, coincidental that the indictment came right around Bobulinski's testimony. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this. By the way, another thing Pisco does, in addition to not tagging me, He does this thing where, let's say I'm talking to Aftershow, or we'll use Todd Sullivan as an example. Let's say me and Todd Sullivan are having a conversation on X, and Todd will say, Rob, I think the Pirates are going to win the division this year. And I'll say, no, the Pirates suck. They don't have good pitching, and I just think their position players are too young and they're not developed enough. And Todd goes, well, you're wrong about the pitching because their bullpen's going to be pretty good. And don't forget, this guy had an injury last year and he'll be coming back. And then I respond, that's how it normally works. Here's how a conversation with me and Pisco works. Pisco will say, Rob's wrong because blah, 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 blah. And I'll say, actually, I'm not wrong because, well, then he won't respond. What he'll do is he'll quote tweet and then start a new thing. Then he'll like his own tweet and then he'll retweet his own tweet, which I started doing that too, but I never saw that and so then it's hard to then follow. And to his audience, to anyone that's watching, they always miss what I said in the rest of the thread. So then Pisco could choose to ignore certain things because he's not really responding. He just quote tweet. Now, I don't know why he does it. Perhaps he's been told somewhere that that's better for engagement or some shit. I don't really know. But it makes it difficult to follow because that's the sort of shit that's going on. So then when you're trying to go back and be like, well, what was said here? It's very stilted. You got to fucking go through a bunch of... It's just stupid. But whatever. Let's see. So we'll start here, and then I got to muddle through. Pisco says, last post of the day, I'll be back when I called out the hypocrisy of Rob citing a 1023 is unbelievably damning vis-a-vis the Steele dossier, which is right. That's the important part, vis-a-vis the Steele dossier. Rob explained that it was unbelievably damning was the DOJ wouldn't investigate this claim, but the DOJ clearly did. What now? Still damning. And he quotes me from July, saying, unbelievably damning. We now know a confidential human source told the FBI's Burisma's corrupt owner and Hunter Biden's boss and paid Hunter and Joe Biden, the Ukrainian prosecutor, to fire the Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating him fired, which Biden admitted to doing. I've been saying this is the case for years, only to be called a conspiracy theorist by those that I debated. Now let's see if I could find more here. Okay. You can see what I mean, how it becomes... Okay, well, you're going to have to take my word for it because I can't find it, but this is something that Pisco posted. He starts saying, I'm moving the goalpost. The FBI didn't investigate. Okay, they investigated, but it wasn't good enough. Get help, man. Seriously, blah, 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 blah. And I said, Pisco once more can't respond. He has to start a new quote tweet, so it's becoming difficult for me to follow. More cowardly bullshit like he's always failing to tag me. Look at the original post Pisco shows and what I said. There should be an equal investigation than there was into the confidential human source allegations into Trump. 2 months clearly did basically nothing and doesn't qualify. I said the DOJ's and Garland and company didn't investigate until 2023. What we see in the Pittsburgh FBI office in 2020 did the bare minimum for 2 months and then closed the case. We know it wasn't a real investigation because it only took Weiss like 6 months to say it was a lie. Pisco knows this, will still defend the inadequate investigation. And this is the post that Pisco posted of mine, claiming that, Rob fucked up, look how stupid he is. I said, what? Again, another post in response to Pisco in July of 2023. What hypocrisy? See my post below starting with, secondly, to see all the reasons this shows a double standard. The only hypocrisy here is the FBI, Democrats, and you, who are fine with the corrupt Trump-Russia investigation sourced by unverified opposition research, but ignoring all the actual evidence that show a warrant at least an equal, if not far more strenuous investigation into Biden and his team. And that's what I want to talk about here. Pisco's inadvertently, by posting that post that I made, Pisco inadvertently is actually proving me true. Now, in the grand scheme of the war, it's better for Pisco's bootlicking side that wants to cover for Biden no matter what, that this guy was indicted. And that's true. I won't deny that. But in the battle of showing that I'm right and I'm good faith compared to Pisco, I certainly win here. Because what I was saying that it was damning in 2023, in July of 2023, what I was saying was if this is true, we now have this confidential human source. Why didn't the FBI treat this the same way they treated the confidential human source that was against Trump? Why was it different? And so Pisco's saying, aha, read the indictment. Rob was wrong. You know what the indictment proves in spades? That the way they treated this information was massively different than the way they treated the confidential human source of Trump. Let's explain how. Christopher Steele was a confidential human source. This Smirnov guy is a confidential human source. Okay, so we're even here. Christopher Steele's information was unverified. Smirnov's information was unverified. Okay, we're even. Christopher Steele was known to be on the payroll where he was getting paid through intermediaries that were working for Hillary Clinton. So it was opposition research. We have no such evidence of that of Smirnov. Only vague assertions that he was biased, which, by the way, Pisco finds very important. He was biased against the Bidens. Christopher Steele was literally being paid by Hillary, which is world's worst. So, if anything, Steele's evidence should have been looked at with more scrutiny because he was a confidential human source, that's the same. Both unverified, that's the same. But they knew Steele's evidence was literally coming from someone who was being paid to take down Donald Trump. That was the whole point. So how did the two things go? Well, we could read from this indictment. This is how it went for Smirnov, for the allegations against Joe Biden. They learned in an interview, I believe in September of 2023. That's when Smirnov says, hey, I'm getting these dates fucked up. June. It was June of 2023, I think. June of 2023, Smirnov says, hey, I heard, years back, I heard Zlochevsky say he paid Biden $5 billion. That allegation is more serious against Biden than anything that was alleged by Christopher Steele of Trump, just so we're clear. So if anything, you would expect, they at least treated this similarly to how they treated Christopher Steele's dossier. So this is what they did. They said, can you send us some documents proving, like travel documents showing, which apparently they never got. And then they said they looked into it and they closed it in August. Let me repeat. They get the information in June and they close it in August. 2 months. That's what they did. 2 months they kept it open, didn't get FISA warrants, didn't launch large-scale investigations into Biden. 2 months, couldn't verify things, said, okay, shut her down. That's how they treated this. Now let's look at how they treated Christopher Steele. 1, they knew it wasn't verified. 2, they used it to get FISA warrants to spy on Trump and his team. 3, they kept the investigation open for over a year. They ran down leads. They tried to contact sources. They branched off into other parts of an investigation where they ended up bringing charges for unrelated crimes. Information was repeatedly leaked to the press to make Trump look bad out of this agency. How is that not a blatant double standard? No, I didn't see the Tiabi article. How is that not a blatant double standard? The only difference is both differences that I outline here are going to say they should have treated the Biden confidential human source with more veracity. 1, the allegation against Biden was worse directly against Biden than any allegation Steele had against Trump. And secondly, they knew Christopher Steele was basically being paid to dig up dirt on Trump by Hillary's team. They didn't know that about the confidential human source against Biden. And yet, as always, when it comes to investigating the Bidens or the Clintons or any of those, it's, okay, we'll do it as easy as possible. Give everyone immunity, do things real quick. Yeah. And when it comes to Trump, we're going to nail down on this. Never able to verify any of the criminal allegations in the Steele dossier. Over a year they were at it. FISA warrants. Kept plugging away. And what was my initial claim again? It's a smoking gun because it shows the double standard of how the FBI treats these sort of things. Now, Pisco's going to get on me and say, how the hell do you know if it was an adequate investigation? You weren't there. Well, I know it was an inadequate investigation. Want to know how I know? Because Weiss now, and this is what happened. So that investigation lay dormant, right? So this is the end of the story. So now you know what they did with Christopher Steele in the confidential human source. Now, here's what happened. So then 2 months, August of 2020, FBI closes investigations into these claims that the confidential human source made. They don't look into them again until July of 23. Why? Well, because Republicans investigating in the impeachment panel find this document and they say, we want to release this to the public. And the FBI says, no. In addition to that, we have whistleblowers in the IRS saying, we didn't even know about the existence of this document. It was like really shady. And I think the Pittsburgh field office had to say that we didn't know about the existence of this confidential human source. It was kept from us by the Delaware office that's sort of closer to Washington. So we found out about it. The whistleblowers from the IRS were like, we weren't allowed to investigate this because it's alleging money's going to the Bidens and we wanted to look at the financials. We weren't allowed to look into it. So it's closed. Close that shit down. Not allowed to look about it, right? Then the FBI says, no, the public can't see it. And so there has to be a big fight until basically the House forces the FBI to release this document for the public to see. Then and only then does Weiss say, okay, we're going to look into the allegations. And what do they find? Well, allegedly they find within 6 months, they're able to find like, holy shit, this is all made up. And here's the proof why. Doesn't even look like it was hard for them to prove. Well, we looked at his text messages and we looked at his travel records and we started to realize things didn't line up. Why didn't they do that in 2020 when they were investigating? They didn't seem to get around to that. Isn't that strange? How can you claim that it was an adequate You can't claim these two things. One, smoking gun in this indictment. Smoking gun that this dude lied. They have all of these text messages they were able to find. And secondly, but the investigation in 2020 was adequate. It was an adequate investigation. If it was adequate, why didn't they look at the text messages? Now, that doesn't mean that the FBI is lying about this or Weiss is lying about this indictment. It doesn't mean it could be true. But what it does show is the FBI didn't seriously look into this shit, and they certainly didn't look into it anywhere near the level that they looked into the allegations made by the confidential human source against Trump. Another blatant double standard. And Pisco thinks, I'm going to post this post of Rob saying the reason it's damning is because it's a double standard, because it's clear that the FBI didn't treat this and in the same way they treated the confidential sources against Trump. And there should be at least an equal, if not more strenuous investigation against Biden. But there wasn't. There you go. No count. And this is in effect what you have, right? This is how the left argues. This is what they'll say. Nah, dude, source got caught lying. It's over, bro. That's it, dude. Literally ignoring all the details of everything. Nah, dude got caught lying. It's over, bro. Let it go. Let it go. Imagine this. Imagine I said all the cases against Trump are dropped. Christopher Steele's guy got caught lying. It's over, bro. It's over. Drop all the charges, bro. Christopher Steele got caught lying, bro. It's over. They'd say, well, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's all these other allegations and stuff like that. But now when it's Biden, that's it, bro. Biden even came out today and said, time to drop the investigation. What? So all of the shit we know about the monies that Joe, like we know smoking gun that Hunter Biden was a foreign lobbyist and wasn't registered. We absolutely know it. Still hasn't been charged with it. We know that he had all these tax violations that he got away with. Absolutely hasn't been charged with it. We now have, which we knew in 2020, but we now have it on the record, that the business partner of Hunter Biden says, yeah, Joe Biden was getting money. What do you mean we know? Did you read the testimony of Tony Bobulinski? Where he said he personally met with Joe Biden as a partner in this business deal? And that Joe Biden was receiving money? And that Joe Biden was the big guy getting 10%? How do you think No Cal Mike would feel if all of a sudden tomorrow there was an investigation into Trump alleging that Trump, while he was president, was improperly getting financial monies from Vladimir Putin? And the business partner of Don Jr. comes out and says, I could prove it. I was in the room with Trump when he was setting up these deals to make money from Vladimir Putin. How do you think people like No Cow Mike would take it? They'd say, holy shit, smoking gun, oh my God, investigate. We know because when they have like a lawyer that turned, Michael Cohen, oh my God, Cohen's got the goods, Trump's going down now. But when it's the business partner of Hunter Biden, they're like, we don't really care about that. We'll ignore all of that. You'd say investigate and hope the FBI informant wasn't lying. Well, so you're admitting that Biden's full of shit when he says when he says drop the investigation on the day where Bobulinski talks about all this stuff. You say, no, investigate. Thank you. Yeah, I know, Todd Sullivan. The FBI always does this. Remember when they released the memo? I remember this vividly back in like 2018, 2019. Devin Nunes came out and was like, look, the Steele dossier was unverified. It was used to spy on Trump's team. And he had this memo and that showed it. And they were like, hashtag release the memo. And they said that hashtag's fake. It was being pushed by Russian bots. And Adam Schiff came out and they had their own memo. That was like, this is bullshit. We've seen the evidence. That's not true. Blah, blah, blah. We can't release it because it contains damning information that could hurt, sources and methods that the FBI uses. And then we saw it and they had some shit redacted and then they unredacted it. And the shit that was redacted that was protecting sources and method was explaining that the FBI paid like $60,000 for a sofa in one of their rooms. Turns out Devin Nunes was completely right. My entire argument, No Cal Mike, is that the investigations aren't commiserate, that there's a double standard. That's the entire argument. I don't give a shit about Trump. I don't give a shit about Biden. I don't give a shit about Obama. I don't give a shit about Hunter. I care that there's a two-tiered justice system. In almost every way, the way they approach these investigations is to be as easy as possible on Trump's opponents and to go as hard as possible on Trump and his allies. Every single time. Every single time. To the point where there are blatant crimes being committed by people that are Trump's opponent. For example, Hillary's team literally destroying and deleting subpoenaed evidence. Yet no one gets charged for that crime, but Trump's team, who didn't destroy any evidence, gets charged with obstruction of justice because allegedly he told them to move boxes. That's obstruction. If he would have just burned the boxes, I guess, and deleted them, then it wouldn't be obstruction. That's what Hillary's team did. Biden's ghostwriter destroying the tapes that were requested by the special counsel, not obstruction. If instead of destroying him, he would have just moved boxes around, I guess they would have called it obstruction. That's right. They didn't charge Colin Powell. Absolutely right. Yep. They didn't charge Hillary, didn't charge Colin Powell, didn't charge Biden, but they charged Trump. Thank you. Continuing to make the case for me. Totally agree. No, part of the obstruction of justice charge of Trump is that he told his assistant Nada to move boxes, allegedly to keep the FBI from being able to see them. Hillary's team deleted subpoenaed evidence. Those boxes were eventually recovered by the FBI. Hillary's stuff that they deleted was not recovered. No one charged on Hillary's side. Right. It's not a goalpost move there. How's that a goalpost? I said he's being charged for moving boxes. You say explain. I said he's being charged for moving boxes because they said that was alleged obstruction to cover up so the FBI couldn't get them. Same fucking argument. I'm sorry if you were unaware that if you thought I literally meant he just moved a box that had nothing to do with classified evidence and you thought that was implying. I mistook you for someone with the base level of knowledge involved in these matters. I thought you knew when I said boxes that involved boxes of material that the FBI was looking at. I'm so sorry that I assumed you had more than like a third level grade of intelligence. That's my mistake. I won't make that mistake again. I won't. I now understand that you're a complete fucking moron. What it really is that you're a bad faith sack of shit. Right? So what we're going to do, No Cal Mike, is I'm not going to ban you from the channel, but I'm not going to read your shit anymore. Thanks so much. I don't have the time to waste with people who go, moving boxes? What's this about? A box? We have a box of crayons. We have a box of action figures. He got charged for moving a box of action figures. Wow. What? Oh, what's that? It was classified. Oh, I had no idea. Now you've moved the goalpost. You're saying it was documents. I didn't know. Wow. Cool, man. Have fun talking to yourself. So all Pisco's done today is absolutely prove, and he can't defend it. He knows it. He absolutely knows. Now, Pisco, to his defense, this is one last Hail Mary that he's trying to throw. He keeps going with it, and this is another thing that goes in line. He keeps saying, I would never cheer for the FBI to do something illegal again. What they did to Trump was illegal. The FISA warrants against Trump's team were illegal. So you can't ask for the same standard to do that again. That'd be bad. Rob, won't you condemn? See, he's desperate. He's constantly desperate to say, Rob, will you please say that it would be terrible? Would it be, you would condemn, you would be against it. If the FBI does against Biden what they did to Trump, that would be horrible. Rob, you need to condemn that, right? We don't want that. No matter what, we can't have that. You have to condemn that, Rob. We can't have done to Biden what was done to Trump. That'd be terrible. That'd be horrible. We must condemn. Of course, the entire time while they were doing this to Trump, I was debating people like Pisco, including Pisco himself, and I was saying things like this: don't you think they have to verify the information before they get FISA warrants? And Pisco was going, oh, blah, 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 blah. Which, if you remember the first debate I had with Pisco, that's what happened. I asked a simple question. I said, as someone who's in law school, do you think that the FBI should have to attempt to verify information before they use it to get FISA warrants? And he literally rambles on for like 5 or 6 minutes instead of saying, well, of course. Well, blah, 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 blah. So even back then, he was fighting it. And then to try to save face, he goes, oh, yeah, that was bad. But you ask him how bad. He says, this is what he said. It's not that big of a deal. It's regrettable. It's regrettable. If it's regrettable, why is he so insistent that everyone condemn, but don't let it happen again? Oh, it'd be fucking disaster if it happened again. But when it happened to Trump, it's regrettable. Not that big of a deal, but regrettable. He's full of shit. Anyone could say, that dude kept saying it last night. They said, oh yeah, what Biden did was bad. He certainly shouldn't do that. No, oh man, I'll be the first to tell you what Biden did was bad. But yeah, I'm cool with them not charging him. Cool. I'm cool with that. So his defense is, look, Rob, you can't have an equal standard because you can't ask the FBI to break the law. So with Steele's confidential human source, right, they use that to get a FISA warrant, which is illegal. So you can't say, well, that's what they should do now. First off, fuck you. You can't tell me what I can't say. You were okay. No matter what he says now, I'm against it. I'm against it. He's absolutely fine with how it played out. He's absolutely fine that the Russia investigation helped harm Trump, his entire administration, helped harm him in the 2018 elections, helped harm him in the 2020 elections, led to all sorts of people around him being arrested, led to the stymieing of his administration. He's completely for all that. It's regrettable that they broke the law in an effort to do that. That's regrettable, but no problem, right? That's the first thing. But second, let's say, fine, Pisco, you're right. I don't want that. I don't want them to break the law to illegally get FISA warrants to spy on Biden. So take that part out of it, which is ridiculous. That alone shows that it's a double standard, right? But let's, for the sake of argument, just to simplify it for bad faith Pisco, let's take that part out. Okay, you're right. It can't be that with this new confidential human source, as soon as they heard, oh, we should get FISA warrants against Biden then. Okay. They still didn't have the same standard, the FISA warrants aside. With the Steele dossier allegations, they looked into for over a year. It led to them branching out, questioning a bunch of people, finding evidence of other crimes. What'd they do with the Smirnoff allegations against Biden? Said, hey, can you send us some travel receipts? Oh, you don't have them? Okay, we're closing it. 2 months. 2 months. And again, I can't stress this enough. We could prove that they didn't do a thorough investigation if we take their own words. Because their own words is, oh, when we reopened the investigation, we quickly found evidence this dude was lying. How can you simultaneously say, yes, the FBI did an adequate job in 2020 when they looked into this for only 2 months, and we know with the confidential human source that they were never able to verify against Trump, they went after it for over a year. We know that. But it's not a double standard that they only went after it for 2 months this time, because trust me, in that 2 months, they thoroughly ran everything to the ground. They did it. They didn't prematurely close it. And also, when we opened it in 2023, we quickly found evidence that this dude was a liar. Well, if you thoroughly investigated the first time in 2020, why didn't you find that evidence? And the reason most likely is they didn't investigate because they were afraid of what they would find. That's why. Then once it was out in the public and they're like, oh shit, we have to look into this. They were like, whoa, wait, this guy's full of shit. Woo! But that's what happened. And Bisco and others like him think it's a victory because I said, wow, this proves it's damning. Why? Because one, if it's true, it's damning for Biden. But what I was saying was it's damning because it shows the double standard. When they have evidence, unverified evidence of a crime that Trump committed, oh boy, they go to the mat. We're going to run all this shit down. When they have unverified evidence of it's a crime Biden committed, we're not going to really look into it. No, we don't want to look into that. He knows it's a double standard. He can't admit it, but he knows it. He'll just say, well, you can't expect all investigations to have the same amount of time. I'm not saying they literally had to last the same amount of days, but they didn't do anything. And I know they didn't because we're told now that they easily found this evidence that it was bullshit. Here's another double standard. Let's see if I can find this. This is from, I believe, Molly Hemingway at the Federalist from today. Smirnov, however, is but one confidential human source whose alleged lies have created havoc for our country. Consider the lies peddled in the Steele dossier to our FBI. Christopher Steele represented his sources as trusted, reliable, well-placed, when it was none of those things. The dossier led the DOJ to obtaining 4 unconstitutional surveillance warrants against an innocent American, resulted in our government spending millions investigating a hoax, and impaired the functioning of the Trump administration. Yet, even after Grassley and Senator Lindsey Graham referred the matter to the DOJ for criminal investigation, Steele reaped no consequences for the lies he sowed. In addition to that, what's not said here is Christopher Steele also directly lied to the FBI when he told them that he had not gave his information to the press, which was illegal. It was illegal to lie, and they also did not want him, because it was now an FBI matter, to be giving this information to the press. He lied. The FBI knew he lied and then terminated their working relationship with Christopher Steele as a result of that lie. Yet Christopher Steele was not charged for that lie. Moving on, then there was confidential human source Stefan Halper, who, according to an electronic communication, told the FBI the Russian board Svetlana Lokava had latched onto Michael Flynn at a Cambridge academic gathering, and then after the dinner surprised everyone and got into Flynn's cab and joined Flynn on the train ride to London. Halper, however, never attended the dinner, so he couldn't have witnessed any of these happenings. The supposed cab ride was completely fictional. So Stefan Halper lied. Wasn't charged. The FBI's summary of his debriefing also memorialized Halper claiming Trump volunteer Carter Page asked Halper during a July 18, 2016 meeting whether he would want to join the Trump campaign as a foreign policy advisor. In an exclusive interview with the Federalist in 2020, Page unequivocally denied asking Halper to be a foreign policy advisor for the Trump campaign. Add to those sources Rodney Joffe, the confidential human source that helped concoct the Alpha Bank hoax. That fairy tale went that the Trump organization had secret communication channel with Putin operating through a Russian-based Alpha Bank. Joffe peddled the tale to the FBI and, with the help of former Clinton lawyer Michael Sussman, pushed the CIA to investigate the second Russian hoax just as Trump presidency was beginning. Why was it that all of these other confidential human sources that lied weren't charged for their lies, but this one is? Yeah, I'll put the link to that. There's way more in here, by the way. Why is it? Why is it that when it turns out that the people that lie that were going after Trump to law enforcement, or people that lie that politically are against Trump, they're not charged for their lies? Like ever. Never. But when it's Trump-connected people, oh boy, or people that help Trump. Can someone explain? Do you think that's a double standard? Here, you want me to do the Pisco defense? Well, the lies were different. There's prosecutorial discretion. The lies, the prosecutors just didn't think the lies that these other confidential human sources, they wouldn't be able to prove them in court. They wouldn't be able to prove them as easily. So because they couldn't prove them, so you can't charge them. Really, they couldn't prove it. I mean, they literally say that Christopher Steele lied to them. Like they have him dead to rights. In fact, the journalist they have him saying, "I never talked to the media," and then Michael Isikoff from Yahoo News is like, "Yeah, he talked to me," and Christopher Steele basically even admits that occurred. Now, well, yeah, that's a lie, but not all lies are the same. That's like an innocent lie. That lie didn't materially change, the allegations that he was making in the dossier, so it should be good. Yeah, but that's bullshit. Any lie should be a lie that's charged, particularly when it has to do with like such a big investigation into a presidential campaign. In addition, it's not going to help to say, but that lie wasn't about necessarily what was in the dossier, because the shit that was in the dossier was all misinformation anyways. Doesn't matter. Don't charge those CHSs. Completely different. Prosecutorial discretion, it's okay. Same shit every time. They know that the allegations Christopher Steele puts doesn't say Trump specifically did anything terrible, said some people in this team, and yet they use that in part, one, almost in totality to get FISA warrants, and they investigate it for over a year, even knowing that it was unverified and it was paid for by Hillary's team. So they had, it's funny, watch Pisco, like, again, it's so funny, like, it just blows your mind, the lack of, like, it's not even a lack, here's the problem, it's not even a lack of awareness, it's just they don't give a shit. They just don't give a shit. He doesn't care. Look at this. Indicted FBI informant Alexander Smirnov never mentioned fake Biden allegations till 2020, after Trump DOJ opened investigations at Giuliani's request, and after Smirnov expressed clear bias against Biden. Trump corruption, look at this, bias against Biden. He expressed bias, it's all over the news. Look at that bias. Oh man, this CHS had bias. Christopher Steele had bias too. You know what his bias was? He was being paid by Hillary's team. Bias is a big deal here. Whoa, this guy didn't like Biden? That's crazy. Here's what we do to make everything even. We'll skip the illegal FISA warrants. How about we have a special investigator, special counsel look into this, and then it'll be someone that's, a mentor to Rudy Giuliani, because Mueller was a mentor to James Comey. So it'll be a mentor to someone like that, right? And then he'll hire 17 lawyers that have formerly worked for Trump, that are in Trump's good graces, right? And we'll have them investigate Biden. Well, that would be bias, would say. But that's what the Mueller team was. 17 Democrats, including at least one that had worked for the Clinton Foundation in the past. That was okay. The guy spearheading the investigation, Peter Strzok, was literally typing that he wanted an insurance policy to stop Trump from winning. That's okay. That bias doesn't matter. But holy shit, this guy, this CHS said he had bias? Oh, white Twitter. I have black on my phone. Black background, but yeah. All right, it's 11:30. I got to go to bed. I said I had to be done by 11. I lied again. So I do have to go downstairs. But I mean, it's nonsensical. So what did we learn tonight? The Navalny shit is bullshit. Any single person that's talking about that and then says we need to fund Ukraine, knowing that Ukraine actually did jail a political dissident who died in prison, who happened to be an American citizen, is full of shit. That's number one. Two, the Energon case is another example of an unprecedented situation of going after Trump and expanding the law to only go after people like Trump. Fani Willis further shows how insane these fucking prosecutors and the legal system are that are willing to go after Trump no matter what. Third, we learned with the confidential human source thing that I was wrong. It wasn't that I said that I knew it was true, right? But it is, I'm not going to shy away from saying it is a blow to what would have been the biggest smoking gun against Biden. But in no means does it mean that the impeachment efforts against Biden should go away or that the scandals of Biden should go away. In fact, they're covering up for Tony Bobulinski, the actual business partner of Hunter Biden, saying damning evidence, things that are much more serious. It doesn't necessarily 100% prove Biden's guilt, but goes a long way to showing that he certainly lied, did things that seemed to be impeachable, and probably broke the law by saying that he was the big guy that was getting 10% and that he was being paid and was a member of this business arrangement, right? We learned that. We also learned that I was correct, as this indictment proves, that there was a double standard of how the FBI treated confidential human sources that were unverified that were against Trump versus how they treated confidential human sources that were unverified against Biden. There is a clear double standard. There is a clear double standard in how they go after those confidential human sources, even when they both lied. One is basically rewarded and said to be a good guy, was trustworthy and great and blah, 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 and hailed as a hero. The other is criminally charged. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. You probably won't hear me again until probably next Wednesday. I might be doing some like YouTube shorts or shorts that you'll be able to see them all on X. If I do any video, I put it on X. So if you follow me on X, you'll eventually see my movies. My movies? Did I say movies? My videos. Also, there's a section on X that says highlights, which I was unaware of. But I started doing that. And so the highlights section, I try to make every one of my videos a highlight. So you can see right here, if you hit this section, it says highlights. It's mostly just my videos that I do. I don't always remember, but if you ever want to see a lot of my videos, that's where I'm going to put them, under the highlights section. So I'll try to remember to do that more. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I know I will. As always, have a good one. Shit. Let me try to raid EOD. I'm so sorry. I always forget to raid people now. If EOD's on, yeah, we'll raid him. Screw it.
The building.
My mistake. Won't work for you YouTube folks or X folks. My mistake. All right. Give me a couple seconds. We'll raid here. Oh, and I'll say real quick, by the way, this guy Pondering, his channel's grown. He used to be known as Ruminate. You might remember him for debating me on vaccine mandates and him literally having to admit that he got crushed and then going on Destiny Show and admitting he got crushed. He's now like Pisco's little toady. Like him and Pisco, but back and forth, be like, yeah, Ruminate, or yeah, Pondering, yeah, Pisco, because they got to prop each other up because they know they're getting crushed in the argument. Anyways, I brought it up to Pondering and claims he may want to debate me on the Devin Archer testimony. More than happy to do it. So look forward to that in the future. All right. Enjoy this raid at EOD. As always, have a good one.
Here.
Vagina cut.
Yeah, the vagina cut right here. Ranger. So what EOD is telling me